Chapter 568. Listening to Yang Cheng's disgusting words of love, Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes. She was still in awe of Yang Cheng's capabilities, but now she had completely forgotten about it. Opening a dyeing workshop for some dyes. No matter how capable this guy is, he can't change his bad habit of eating tea, always thinking about those things. Seeing that Lin Ruoxi was ignoring him, Yang Cheng didn't say anything else. Looking at Lin Ruoxi's beautiful face that had returned to normal, he nodded in satisfaction. He used one hand to comb Lin Ruoxi's messy hair to the back of her delicate ears and sighed. Although it was a fight, at least it's settled. If you feel uncomfortable, just say it. Why do you have to be so stubborn? You're just going to suffer because of your pride. Why are you doing this? It's none of your business. Lin Ruoxi was embarrassed that her thoughts were exposed, but she immediately remembered something and asked, "Oh right, you haven't told me. Why did you come back to Zhonghai to help that little vixen Anshin? Tell me the truth. Didn't you just say that you don't need to explain?" While Yang Cheng was puzzled, he felt that it was quite funny. He didn't know if Anshin had provoked Lin Ruoxi too many times that even Lin Ruoxi started to call her a vixen. "That was just now. Who asked you to be so fierce to me? I'm going to look into it now." Looking at the woman who was still silly before, exuding an overbearing aura, Yang Cheng thought that he was hallucinating. She changed her attitude faster than flipping a page of a book. However, what needed to be said still had to be said. Yang Cheng told her everything about how Anshin was threatened by Lu Min. As for the incident with Yin Sanyang, he didn't explain it clearly. It wasn't that he didn't want to talk about it, but he couldn't express it in words. Moreover, if Lin Ruoxi were to find out that he was comprehending some mysterious Tao, she might think that he was talking nonsense. After listening to Yang Cheng's recount, even if Lin Ruoxi hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she could guess just how dangerous it was. A trace of worry appeared on her face, and she said with a bit of bitterness, "For the sake of Anshin, did you really have to go this far?" Yang Cheng smiled at Shan Shan and said, "It's not like I only treat Anshin that way. If anyone dares to bully you, I will definitely be more ruthless than this. In other words, you will do the same to other women, right?" Lin Ruoxi stared at him coldly. Yang Cheng touched his nose and looked around. Obviously, he agreed. Lin Ruoxi gritted her teeth, and, after glaring at Yang Cheng, she thought for a moment and said, "Yang Cheng, look at me." Yang Cheng didn't understand what Lin Ruoxi wanted to do. "I said, look at me, look into my eyes," Lin Ruoxi said solemnly. Although Yang Cheng didn't know what this woman wanted to do, she was a beauty anyway, so he didn't mind looking at her. How could he lose a piece of meat if he just stared at her? The two of them looked at each other. Lin Ruoxi's eyes were like the surface of a lake, and the clear and crystalline waves reflected a moving brilliance. In the next second, Lin Ruoxi smiled sweetly. It was rare to see this ice-cold woman smile. She was like a painting that was sealed in ice, a sculpture. Even if she smiled occasionally, it was only a slight smile. At this moment, the sudden bloom was like a warm light that melted the layer of ice, making the truth inside appear radiant. Like the elegance of a lotus, the enchanting of a peony, it was like a dream. For a moment, the charm that was emitted made Yang Cheng, who had seen countless beautiful women, involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, no one would believe that a woman could describe the beauty of a woman so vividly and vividly. There were no words to describe it. Seeing Yang Cheng's stunned expression, Lin Ruoxi was very satisfied. There was a trace of pride in her heart, and she also felt a little more confident. Am I beautiful?" Lin Ruoxi's charming face was slightly flushed, and she asked in a soft and sweet voice. This kind of tone was like a little girl acting coquettishly to ask for praise. Yang Cheng swallowed his saliva, and his face looked like a pig. The only thing he didn't do was to take a bowl to his chin, and he nodded his head foolishly. Then, compared to Anshin, compared to Qiang Wei, who is more beautiful? Lin Ruoxi asked again with a smile. "Of course it's you." Yang Cheng's heart began to beat wildly, and his mind was filled with an idea that made him excited to the point of going crazy. This woman is tempting me. She is tempting me. Is brother finally going to find the dignity of a man in my wife? Brother finally doesn't have to stay alone in my room every night? Lin Ruoshi shyly bit her lip. This touch of flirtatiousness was like thousands of kinds, and the posture of a little girl who wanted to say something but didn't. It seemed to be young and charming. Really? Lin Ruoshi asked again in a low voice to confirm. Really, you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. There is no one else. Yang Cheng answered very quickly, because he didn't even need to think about it to know the answer. Both of his hands clenched and loosened on his pants, and he couldn't wait to make a move, but he still endured it. If he was careless and made Lin Ruoshi dislike him, then his chance to make a comeback would be ruined again. From the corner of Lin Ruoshi's eyes, she also glanced at Yang Cheng's uneasy, struggling hands, and then looked at Yang Cheng's eyes, which were burning with a strong desire, holding back a trace of nervousness. Lin Ruoshi gently placed a pair of hands between the two of them and pressed against Yang Cheng's chest. Lin Ruoshi raised her head, and her face was very close to Yang Cheng's, and they could hear each other's heartbeat and feel each other's breathing. A pair of watery eyes were about to overflow, and Lin Ruoshi's lips opened slightly, and her breath smelled like orchids. She asked in a slightly hoarse voice, "Do you really want me?" He had seen seductive women, but he had never seen one who was so seductive. Yang Cheng was about to go crazy. It wasn't that Lin Ruoshi's technique was good, but compared to many of the women he had slept with before, this lass's technique could be said to be non-existent. She was just vaguely relying on her instincts and her intelligence to find a way that might be effective on men and use it to seduce him. However, it was precisely this kind of nervousness, this kind of immature action, that allowed a woman's natural charm to be released to the extreme. Wanting to reject while still welcoming, it was easy to say, but how many women could really do it without the slightest bit of falsehood? And this woman in front of him, who could be said to have no experience at all, had already pushed that realm to a new peak. Do you really want it? Nonsense. Of course I want it. I've been waiting for this sentence for almost a year. How could Yang Cheng care so much? And he could no longer pretend to be serious. He suddenly opened his arms and tightly hugged Lin Ruoshi's delicate and fragrant body. Panting heavily, he said excitedly, "Darling Ruoshi, good wife, you're finally going to be merciful. You're suffocating me to death. Come, let's first kiss, and then we'll proceed to the next step." Wait. Lin Ruoshi directly blocked Yang Cheng's mouth with one hand, not letting Yang Cheng kiss her. Huh? Yang Cheng was puzzled. At this time, why was she still playing a little shyness? A trace of slyness flashed in Lin Ruoshi's bright eyes. "I only asked if you really want it. I didn't say that I'll really give it to you." Yang Cheng's expression stiffened, and he wished that he could slap Lin Ruoshi like he did earlier. Wasn't this woman playing with him to death? But what? Yang Cheng hurriedly asked, and his eyes once again burst out with brilliance. Lin Ruoshi pouted and stammered, "If you promise me one thing, I'll promise you anything." Promise me anything? Yang Cheng felt a burst of ecstasy. Could it be that she could even do that kind of difficult technical work? "Ha! Don't say one thing. I'll promise you 100 things. Darling, hurry up and say it. Your husband doesn't have any other skills, but I can handle things." Yang Cheng was overjoyed. With his current ability, he wasn't bragging. In this world, if there was something that he couldn't do, the possibility of someone else doing it was next to nothing. This stunning beauty that he had been dreaming of for almost a year, the woman that he longed for the most in his heart, was finally going to be his again. A hint of joy appeared on Lin Ruoshi's gentle and beautiful face, and she said, "I only want you to do one thing. I believe that with your ability, it won't be difficult at all. You don't need to fight, you don't need to kill, and you don't even need to spend much effort. It's very simple. Aya, Ruoshi, hurry up and say it. I'll listen to you." Yang Cheng was anxious. His little brother was about to burst out of his crotch, but this woman was still dawdling. Lin Ruoshi took a deep breath, and a hint of determination flashed in her eyes. I want you to break off all relations with those other women." With that, Yang Cheng's arms that were holding Lin Ruoshi trembled and then slowly slid down from the woman's body. The smile on Yang Cheng's face gradually disappeared, and what replaced it was a dull and lifeless face. His eyes were a little empty. Lin Ruoshi's mind was incomparably clear as she said, "I knew from a long time ago that you weren't an ordinary man, but I didn't think too much about it. What happened in Paris this time, although I was very scared, I understood more about your past and your true identity. You are indeed from a different world from me. You are stronger than me, more powerful than me, richer than me. I used to think that it was impossible for us to be together, but now, if we're talking about value, I am completely unworthy of you. However, if you think that because you are a strong man, I should be willing to be one of your women, then you are looking down on me, Lin Ruoshi. This is not the love that I want. Although I know that occupying a man like you alone is something that many other women will be jealous of, I don't care. Love and marriage have always been selfish. I don't know how many women you have outside, but as far as I know, Qiang Wei, Anxin, Lu Mingyu, and my good sister, Emo Qinyi, are all like that. That makes 4. I don't care how many other lovers you have. If you want me to throw myself into your arms and give everything to you, you must cut off all relations with them." Seeing Yang Cheng's dazed expression, Lin Ruoshi's heart ached a little, but she still said, "I know that this is a little cruel and unfair to you. After all, when we got married, it was a marriage by contract. At that time, I did say that I wouldn't care about your affairs outside. That's my fault, so I won't hold it against you for having those women. But after seeing you with other women a few times, and seeing you doing that with Anxin this morning, I found that I can't accept it." Lin Ruoshi's expression turned cold again, and she said solemnly, "I like you, Yang Cheng, so much so that in this life, you can only be the imprint in my heart. You let me experience things that ordinary women can't experience in several lifetimes. You made it impossible for me to choose other men. But this doesn't mean that I can accept sharing you with other women. I can't accept it. I just can't accept it. No matter how hard I try, this is the bottom line that is deeply rooted in my bones. If you are willing, I will use the rest of my life to make it up to you. I will treat you well, listen to you, and no matter what ridiculous things you want to do, I am willing to do it with you. But I can only accept that I am your one and only wife." The office was incomparably quiet. Even the drop of a needle could be heard. This kind of calm lasted for nearly 10 minutes. Yang Cheng's expressionless and unresponsive face revealed a bitter smile. He looked at Lin Ruoshi, who was looking at him expectantly and gently, but firmly, shook his head. "I'm sorry, I can't do it," Yang Cheng said in a low voice. "Actually, you should have known long ago, right? When I said that I like you, I said it. It's impossible for me to give up those women who truly love me. I'm not a good person, but I will be responsible for my own women." A hint of pain flashed through Lin Ruoshi's beautiful eyes, and her body trembled slightly. She bit her lower lip, took a deep breath, and nodded. "You don't have to answer me so quickly. I promise you that within a year, I wouldn't fall out with those lovers of yours, and I wouldn't do anything to them. You can think about what kind of result you want in this year." Lin Ruoshi's voice returned to its indifferent coldness, as if the woman who was smiling like a flower just now wasn't her at all. "1 year?" Yang Cheng asked in bewilderment. "Ruoshi, could it be that after a year, if I don't want to abandon them, you're going to leave me?" Lin Ruoshi turned around and walked back to her desk. She said lightly, "As long as you don't want to, I won't divorce you. Even if I can't get a perfect marriage, a perfect love, there's nothing bad about my current family. I've said it before, I won't have any contact with other men. A year later, if you choose them, then I will spend all my time on my career and family. I will do my duty as a daughter-in-law and take good care of your family. Of course, if Mom and the others are willing to let me continue to be their daughter-in-law." Yang Cheng finally understood what Lin Ruoshi meant and immediately didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was obvious that Lin Ruoshi was pressuring him. She clearly told him that as long as he didn't break off his relationship with other women, she would definitely not fulfill her duties as a wife. However, This duty was only for the relationship between a man and a woman. She chose to accept the duty of a family. In other words, she would be the daughter-in-law of the Yang family, but not his, Yang Cheng's woman. This kind of sentimental and righteous choice had completely pushed the role of the bad guy to Yang Cheng's head. Yang Cheng could easily imagine what his family would think of him if Guo Shuhua found out that her daughter-in-law was so obedient, but her son was fooling around outside. You're using an open scheme against me. Darling Ruashi, you really know how to torture me. Yang Cheng rubbed his temples in pain. Lin Ruashi was already looking at the architectural drawings on the table. She said casually, I'm not threatening you. Everything is up to you. Besides, I can't beat you in the end. If you want to use force on me, I won't be able to stop you. I'm just an ordinary weak woman. No matter what my identity is, I'm afraid I'm not worth a single cent in your eyes. If you insist on using force, then I'm already prepared. I'll treat myself as a puppet without a heart. You can play with me if you want. Since we've known each other, you've saved my life many times. I can accept it as repayment. Yang Cheng felt a stabbing pain in his heart. This woman was really picky about anything that could hurt someone. A puppet without a heart? If he really used force on her, wouldn't he be worse than a dog? Moreover, as a real husband, if he insisted on using his own strength to conquer his wife, Yang Cheng would probably look down on himself for the rest of his life. Do you really have to be so ruthless? Yang Cheng sighed. The excitement from before was long gone. Do you still remember how cold I was to you in Paris? Lin Ruashi raised her head and smiled. Of course, Yang Cheng remembered that when he went to the Louvre to bid farewell to her, his heart was very depressed. Lin Ruashi said, I'm actually not angry at you. Although you used me as bait again and played such a show, you didn't tell me in advance, which made me feel uncomfortable. But the reason why I treated you like that was because I suddenly realized that the gap between us was not just a little bit. When I first met you, I thought that my social status was much higher than yours. But now, I realize that I can't compare to you at all. I was very shocked at that time. I was very angry. Why was I so slow to realize who you were so late? So I was angry with myself, and I felt annoyed when I saw you. But today, I figured something out. Since there's such a big gap between our statuses, I'll work hard to make myself stronger. This way, does it count as you indirectly giving me the motivation to move forward? Only then did Yang Cheng realize that Lin Ruashi's coldness at that time was actually caused by the contrast brought about by the difference in status between the two of them. What do you mean by saying all of this? Yang Cheng couldn't get in touch with her. Lin Ruashi stared at the blueprints on the table and said, I'm saying all of this to tell you that my intentions are very clear. If you can't give up on other women for me, then I'll choose another direction in my life. These blueprints you see are the new travel resort that I plan to build this year, as well as the department store around the resort. The release of the new materials has multiplied this year's profits by several times. The finances are very generous, and the Star of Yulei has also brought a large amount of profits to our company. I decided to build 2 new buildings in Zhonghai and then expand the relatively weak branches in the United States and Eastern Europe. Oh, right. I also want to acquire small companies, small and medium-sized resorts and amusement parks, and transform them into an integrated industrial chain. I plan to turn the Yulei that my grandmother left me into a world-class fashion and entertainment empire. Listening to Lin Ruashi's ambitious plans to invade the world, Yang Cheng did not doubt the woman's execution at all. Damn it, this woman. She was telling herself that if she didn't choose her as her only wife, she would care about herself and become a strong woman. Chapter 569. When he walked out of the CEO's office, Yang Cheng's entire body felt light and his legs were weak. Lin Ruashi was ruthless, grabbing onto his own weak point and drilling it continuously. This woman was certain that he wouldn't use force against her, and he couldn't bear to destroy her career, so she forced him to make a choice. What was even more unavoidable was that he had already expressed his love for her more than once. There was a good saying that in a relationship between a man and a woman, whoever confessed first would lose the initiative. Obviously, he couldn't give up. He couldn't bear to just pat his butt and leave. As a result, Yang Cheng felt like a dog with a collar. No matter how much he jumped, he couldn't escape Lin Ruoshi's grasp, because the other end of the rope was tightly gripped by her. I can't live like this anymore. Yang Cheng had a stomach full of bitterness, but there was no one to complain to. Looking at the time, it was already noon, but he didn't have the mood to go back and find Lin Ruoshi to eat. Not to mention that Lin Ruoshi was looking at the design drawings with great ambition, unfolding her grand blueprint for the expansion of the resort. His own bad luck would probably make Lin Ruoshi laugh at him. After thinking about it, he couldn't think of a way to break Lin Ruoshi's plan in a short period of time. Yang Cheng was depressed. His talent in cultivation was much stronger than his talent in dealing with relationships between men and women. If he could split a little bit of it, maybe that girl Lin Ruoshi would have already been subdued by him. Shaking his head and sighing, Yang Cheng walked to the elevator. He didn't want to go home, but chose to go down one floor. On the floor second to the CEO's office in Yulei Building, there were only a few offices. Among them, the two vice presidents, Mo Qianni and Li Mingyi, had their offices here. Of course, Yang Cheng would not look for a man. He wanted to look for his own woman. When he was in Paris, he received a call from one of his mothers-in-law, Ma Guifeng. Yang Cheng had a lot of things to do after returning to China, so he didn't have time to take care of Ma Guifeng. He couldn't help but feel uneasy. He wanted to meet her as soon as possible and treat her to a good meal. No matter what, he had eaten the beautiful daughter of the old man. If he didn't give him a proper status and didn't respect the old man, it would be too immoral. Moreover, he hadn't seen Mo Qianni for more than a week, and he missed her a lot. Compared to his cold wife, this intellectual and charming lover gave Yang Cheng more confidence as a man. Arriving at Mo Qianni's door, Yang Cheng knocked on it, wondering if she had already gone out to eat. Fortunately, Mo Qianni's familiar voice was soon heard. "Please come in." Yang Cheng was overjoyed. He opened the door, flashed in, and immediately locked the door. Mo Qianni was leaning on the desk to read a plan. Suddenly, she saw a figure flash in and lock the door. She was shocked. She thought it was a burglary, but when she took a closer look, it was Yang Cheng. She was stunned. A pair of bright almond-shaped eyes showed some doubts at first, and then a burst of heartfelt surprise. "Why are you here?" Mo Qianni stood up and asked happily, "Didn't you say you would come back the day after tomorrow?" Yang Cheng didn't say anything. He walked forward and looked up and down at Mo Qianni with a smirk. After being nourished by him these days, this rather mature and intellectual girl was like a fresh lychee with a glass skin, becoming more and more lustrous and attractive. A few strands of black hair were left on the side of her face, setting off her white skin, which was as tender as a newborn baby's. Compared to the strong woman's posture when she first came to the company, she was more charming and lively. She was wearing a light yellow dress with a white lace shirt inside a lady's casual suit. Her chest was bulging as if it was about to burst out of the restraints. Below, she wore a black near-revealing short skirt and a pair of black, open-toed, high-heeled shoes. Her pair of white, curvy legs were dazzling and pleasing to the eye. Yang Cheng sighed and walked around Mo Qianni again and again. Mo Qianni was blushing, and her heart was beating fast under Yang Cheng's strange gaze. She pouted coquettishly. "What are you looking at? Is there something wrong?" "Little Qian, in the future, dress more simply when you go to work," Yang Cheng said. Mo Qianni looked at her own clothes in confusion. "Isn't that simple? I just took some clothes that are easy to match." "It's not that it's simple, Sai. Look at you. If others see you dressed so seductively, I'll be jealous." Yang Cheng shook his head with a pained expression. Mo Qianni giggled and bit her lip. "If you say so, then I'll wear it this way. If you don't want others to see it, then keep an eye on me." Yang Cheng glanced at the woman, walked up and hugged her waist. He stuck close to her body and said seriously, "Mo Qianni, you're getting more and more beautiful." Hearing the man's straightforward praise, Mo Qianni blushed, but she enjoyed it very much. "Don't you know how to speak in a roundabout way? Other people have a lot of ways to coax women, but you're not romantic at all." "I don't have the time to be romantic," Yang Cheng said in distress. When Mo Qianni heard this, She immediately felt a little uncomfortable. She rolled her eyes at him and said, "You can't even give me this little bit of time. What are you in such a hurry to do?" Yang Chung giggled and suddenly gave a sneak kiss, pecking Mo Qian's tender lips. "I'm in a hurry to be intimate with little Qian. I haven't done it for more than a week, and you're dressed so seductively. I can't help it." As Yang Chung said this, he didn't care about Mo Qian's resistance. One of his hands reached into the collar of Mo Qian's shirt and grabbed a ball of pink. His other hand reached into the scenery behind Mo Qian's skirt, grabbing onto that soft place and pinching it. Mo Qian was like a peach that had its juice squeezed out. She looked at Yang Chung with watery eyes and panted as she punched Yang Cheng's chest with all her might. "You going to die? You've been like this ever since you came back. You haven't even said a few words. Let me go. Don't pinch there." How could Yang Cheng listen to a woman's coquettishness? He directly blocked Mo Qian's words with his mouth, and the two of them kissed passionately. It wasn't until Mo Qian was almost out of breath that Yang Chung let go. He pressed Mo Qian's soft body on the big desk and prepared for the next step. Mo Qian looked at Yang Chung pleadingly and said softly, "Don't do it here. This is the company. It's exciting because it's in the company." Yang Chung shouted in his heart and said with an evil smile, "Little Qian, you saw it with your own eyes. Mingyu obediently played with me in her office for almost an hour. She can do it, but you can't." Mo Qian suddenly recalled the time when she bumped into the man and Lu Mingyu in the office. It was so embarrassing. In the end, Yang Chung even made their relationship public. How could she forget? Why are you like this?" Mo Qian knew that the man was deliberately provoking her. If she didn't agree, wouldn't it be obvious that she had lost to Lu Mingyu? How could that coquettish fox do it with a man in the office? And do it for an hour? Mo Qian was about to go crazy, but the line of defense in her heart gradually collapsed. Then take it easy. Mo Qian sighed in her heart. "Forget it. I've given him everything. If he wants to be absurd, then I'll accompany him. It's not that I'm shameless. It's Lu Mingyu who started it first." Yang Chung was overjoyed. As for the additional condition of "take it easy," he directly ignored it. He directly flipped Mo Qian's body over, lifted her black skirt, and pounced on her. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Although Yang Chung had Catherine and Lilith's continuous contributions in Paris, and he had sex with an Xian twice after returning to Zhonghai, he was already unparalleled in this aspect. How could he be satisfied? What's more, the women around him had different tastes. Mo Qian's intellectual charm and Anshin's enchanting style brought enjoyment and sensory stimulation. Only he could understand the taste of it. After the storm subsided, Yang Chung sat on the big sofa in Mo Qian's office, while Mo Qian was lying in the man's arms with her clothes disheveled. Her face was flushed, her almond-shaped eyes were misty, and her body was still trembling. Obviously, the lingering charm had not disappeared. Yang Chung stroked the woman's smooth back with one hand, kissed Mo Qian's forehead, and said gently, "Clean up later and go see our mother. I'll treat you to dinner tonight. I'm sorry that I didn't pick you up in time after coming all the way here. We have to eat a good meal." Of course, Mo Qian knew that Yang Chung was talking about her mother. Although she knew that it was difficult for the two of them to become husband and wife, she was very satisfied that Yang Chung was willing to call her mother Mom. "It's still early for dinner." Mo Qian raised her head and asked, "Hubby, you haven't told me why you came back early. Have you finished your business in Europe?" "What can I do? I came back to help Anshin solve some trouble. Now that the trouble has been solved, I came to see you," Yang Chung said. Mo Qian knew Anshin. When she found out that Anshin was Yang Cheng's secretary, she specially went to Yang Cheng's office with Lu Mingyu to greet Anshin. Although compared to Lin Ruoxi and Lu Mingyu, Mo Qian was not familiar with Anshin, but she also knew that Anshin must have a significant position in Yang Cheng's heart. After all, she was a woman that was snatched from Hokkaido, Japan. Mo Qian thought for a moment and asked, "Is Anshin all right?" She didn't ask what kind of trouble it was. Yang Cheng nodded, "It's fine. Even if there are any follow-up problems in the future, I'm here. Don't be afraid. I know you're very powerful, so I won't ask too much. As long as she's fine, it's fine. Chini pursed her lips and smiled. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of pride. Then, she thought of something and asked, "What about Ruashi? Did she come back with you?" Yang Chung now had a headache when he heard Lin Ruashi's name. He smiled bitterly and said, "That's not it. She came back a day later than me, but she also came back and just came to work." Chini saw that Yang Cheng's expression was a little strange. She chuckled and said, "What's with your expression? I didn't mean anything else. I just have some plans for the company's business expansion this year to discuss with her. So I asked, why do you not want to hear about Ruashi? Could it be? Did you guys quarrel?" Yang Chung rolled his eyes at her. This woman's gossipy soul was burning. He thought to himself, it would be easy if they quarreled. But the problem now was that the problem was very serious. Following that, Yang Chung asked, "Little Chan, you just said that you have some business expansion plans that you want to discuss with Ruashi. What's the plan?" Chini was curious as to why Yang Chung was interested in such things. He was famous for not doing his job properly, but she still answered, "Before Ruashi went to Paris, she told me to search for vacation and entertainment industries in Zhonghai and the surrounding provinces. She wanted to look for those that weren't doing well, but had potential. She said she wanted to buy them and manage them herself. I have a list of resorts that are on the verge of bankruptcy, so I want to ask her to take a look. Her business sense is much sharper than mine. If she says it's feasible, we can buy it with money. Right now, our company's cash is overflowing." When Chini said this, she was full of pride. After all, Yulei International's current prosperity couldn't be separated from the management of her, the main executive. But when these words fell into Yang Cheng's ears, Yang Cheng's face twisted. He didn't expect that Lin Ruashi had already paved the way for today's conversation before she went to Paris. Everything was under her control. No matter what his choice was, it wouldn't affect her future plans. Seeing that Yang Cheng's face was getting darker, Chini didn't know if she said something wrong. She waited for Yang Chung to speak. Yang Chung finally let out a long sigh and said weakly, "Little Chan, I can't take it anymore. Teach me, what should I do?" Chapter 570. Yang Cheng's dispirited appearance caused Chini to be surprised, but she had never seen this man so frustrated. Who could make him so helpless? "Hubby, what's wrong with you? What can I teach you?" Chini asked with concern. Yang Chung smiled bitterly, probably because Anshin and Lin Ruashi had a conflict, and then reconciled, but Lin Ruashi gave him a 1-year ultimatum, he briefly explained. Chini was an intelligent woman. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been chosen by the old CEO of Yulei to manage such a large enterprise. So after listening to a few key points, she roughly restored the situation. After listening to the end, Chini finally understood why Yang Chung looked so dejected. She also had a complicated feeling in her heart, but she still felt that Yang Cheng's defeated appearance was very funny, and she couldn't help but tremble with laughter. Only Lin Ruashi can make you like this. Who told you to go around flirting with flowers and grass? You should have been taught a lesson long ago." Chini stretched out her slender fingers and tapped on Yang Cheng's forehead. Yang Chung hugged Chini's smooth body tightly, one hand touching the protruding part of the woman's chest, and threatened, "You don't know how to be polite. If you do this again, I'll press you down on the sofa and teach you a lesson." When Chini heard this, she immediately shrank back and pouted, "You only know how to bully me. It's clearly Ruashi who's threatening you. I didn't do anything. If this trick worked on her, I would have used it a long time ago. It's not like you don't know that our Madam CEO has a temper that can't be pulled back even by 100 bulls. Once she's set her mind on something, as long as she doesn't change it from the bottom of her heart, she'll be stubborn. I don't dare to play tricks with her. That's why I'm having a headache." Chini's eyes sparkled as she asked, "Hubby, what do you think? Are you going to choose her or us?" Yang Chung glared at the woman fiercely. "Do you even need to say it? If I had given up on you guys for her, would I still be here to look for you? Would I still be in a hurry to suck up to our mother? At least you have a conscience." Chini drew circles on Yang Cheng's chest with one hand and said softly, "If you dare to not want me, I will go die in front of you." Hiss. Yang Chung sucked in a breath of cold air. He shook the beauty in his arms and scolded. "What are you talking about? So unlucky. I'm asking you to give me some advice on how to solve this crappy multiple-choice question. You, on the other hand, gave me a threat. Do you want me to go crazy from thinking about it? Are you happy?" Emo Chinny pouted. "Then what can I do? Could it be that I want you to give up on Ruashi? Are you willing? If you were willing, you would have divorced her a long time ago. Besides, it's not like you don't know that Ruashi and I have known each other for so many years. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have had any awkwardness or estrangement. Now, because of you, our relationship has dropped by a level. I don't want Ruashi to be dissatisfied with me anymore. Although Ruashi had her reasons when I was with you, it was a fact that I touched her husband. I already feel sorry for her for not cutting off her friendship. Should I help you think of a way to deal with her? Besides, she doesn't say anything all day, but she's very smart. She must have thought of what I can think of." Yang Chung sighed. Indeed, the possibility of asking Emo Chinny to help him with a plan was too low. He patted the woman's shoulder and pretended that nothing had happened. The two of them chatted for a while and flirted with each other. Seeing that it was still early, they got up. Emo Chinny tidied up her clothes and pushed Yang Chung out of the office. Since she knew that Lin Ruashi had returned to the company, she planned to send the information over in advance and discuss it in detail. For Emo Chinny, love was important, but she didn't intend to look down on her rising career. After all, most of the time, her husband was someone else's, and her career was her own. After the two of them agreed to leave together in the evening, Yang Chung didn't pester her and took the elevator to the floor where the public relations department was located. Coming here, other than seeing Zhao Hongyan and other female colleagues that he hadn't seen for a long time, the most important thing was to be intimate with Lu Mingyu. Ever since Lu Qingshan unified the underworld in Yanjing and returned to Zhonghai to reunite with Lu Mingyu and her daughter, Lu Mingyu's identity was directly upgraded to the Miss of the Underworld. However, Lu Mingyu obviously didn't have much interest in this identity. It was even rare that she didn't dislike it. Maybe it was because she matured from a young age. Lu Mingyu's endurance was much stronger than women of the same age. Therefore, she quickly accepted Lu Qingshan's underworld background. Arriving at the big office of the public relations department, Yang Chung discovered that he didn't recognize many of the female public relations employees. After all, Yulei International was flourishing. Many of the old employees would have new places that needed them to be managers. Therefore, after a large number of new people entered, the old people would naturally go to other departments to be managers. Fortunately, Zhang Kai and a few other old people were still here. When they saw Yang Chung, they happily greeted him. Many of the new female public relations employees weren't familiar with Yang Chung, but when they heard that he was the director of the entertainment branch, many of the young girls began to cast flirtatious glances at him. This made Yang Chung sigh in his heart. Recently, the girls really aren't low-key. I like it. Yang Chung looked around and realized that Zhao Hongyan, who he had many ambiguous feelings with, was also not here. Therefore, he asked Zhang Kai, "Where did Hongyan go? She also went to another department?" Zhang Kai was puzzled. "You don't know?" "Know what?" Zhang Kai's round face was full of surprise. "I thought Hongyan would tell you. After all, your relationship is quite good. Hongyan resigned a while ago and is no longer in the company." "Resigned?" Yang Chung was puzzled. Why would she resign for no reason? At the same time, he suspected that the family of her ex-husband with the surname Yu had gone to disturb her again. Zhang Kai said with some regret, "It's because Hongyan's father was discharged from the hospital. Someone needs to take care of her at home. Her family originally had an old skill of making glutinous rice balls, and now the shop has opened again. She went to help her brother, but she really didn't have the energy to work at the company, so she resigned. All of us felt that it was a pity. After Sister Hongyan left, there were fewer and fewer old people here." Yang Chung then remembered that Zhao Hongyan's father did say that he had found a kidney source and could undergo surgery. In the blink of an eye, so much time had passed. It was only natural for her to be discharged. He didn't know how Zhao Hongyan's family was doing now. A young married woman who returned home to take care of her father and help her brother. But how was she going to face her golden years? Beauty is easy to age, and he didn't know if she could find a good husband. Yang Cheng sighed for a while, said goodbye to Zhang Kai and the others, and then went into Lu Mingyu's office. It had to be said that compared to his women's professionalism, Yang Cheng was quite ashamed. After not seeing her for a while, Lu Mingyu's shoulder-length short hair had already been coiled up. The original purplish-red dye had also been washed away, and it was dark and clean. She was wearing a light brown spring jacket with a red and white bow tie on her chest, adding a bit of vitality. On the bridge of her nose was a pair of black-rimmed glasses, which made her bright and beautiful oval face look especially exquisite. She was also like Imo Chinni, burying her head in some documents. Even when Yang Cheng came in and saw her, she was a little stunned. She stared blankly for a while before smiling sweetly. "Why did you suddenly come? Why didn't you tell me in advance?" Yang Cheng felt dispirited. This woman wasn't even 30 years old, but how could she be so calm and collected? It had been so long since she last saw her man, yet she didn't show any enthusiasm. This mature look of hers was comparable to Tang Wan's. "Don't work so hard. Your father's money is enough for you to squander for a few lifetimes. Your man, I also have money to support you. If one day your hair turns white, it will be too late for regrets." Yang Cheng went behind Lu Mingyu and gently rubbed her shoulders with both hands, as a way to refresh her. Lu Mingyu did not stop Yang Cheng's good intentions. She pursed her lips into a smile and shook her head. "I don't like to use my father's money. It seems like you still care about your background in the underworld. Actually, it's nothing much. If there are men in this world, there will be women. If there's white, there will naturally be black. That money might not have come from a proper source, but it was earned by your father with his life on the line. He definitely hopes that you and your brother can live a good life. Otherwise, he wouldn't have refused to go home to see you and your mother before he successfully unified the underworld in Beijing." Yang Cheng smiled. "I know, but I'm just not used to it." Lu Mingyu turned her head and looked at Yang Cheng with a smile. "What's wrong with you today? In the past, every time we met, you would make a move. It's rare for you to behave yourself and even talk to me about daily life." Yang Cheng said with a serious expression, "Do I look like the kind of person who only knows how to take advantage of women? Darling Mingyu, you're looking down on your man too much. I'm putting your spiritual happiness first. I won't tell you that I've already eaten enough tofu from little Qian. Most importantly, I'm in a really low mood right now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be rubbing your shoulders, but other parts of your body." Lu Mingyu glanced at Yang Cheng, not knowing if she believed him or not. She said softly, "My parents have been asking me recently how our relationship is. I said that we haven't seen each other for a long time, and Dad is very angry." "Look at you." Yang Cheng blushed and said with a stiff smile, "You're too honest. Can't you just help me block it? I've been busy recently, so I really can't find any free time. It's not like you don't know that I was the leader of Star of Ulay at that time. Now that I'm free, why don't I invite my father-in-law and mother-in-law to find a day to play?" Yang Cheng secretly cursed in his heart. This Lu Qingshan was really ruthless. He actually let his daughter play the sad card. If she wanted to see him, couldn't she just come and find him? Why did it feel like this time, when he returned to the country, all he had to do was to show his filial piety to his elders? Lu Mingyu was quite moved. Just as she was about to say something, she heard a knock on the office door. As if she had thought of something, Lu Mingyu frowned slightly and looked at Yang Cheng with a complicated expression. Then, she said coldly, "Come in." Chapter 571. Yang Cheng was wondering what kind of person could make Lu Mingyu's face turn cold all of a sudden. This woman was famous for her good temper in the PR department. She had always been like this since he knew her. The only time she really got angry was when Chi Kai was still alive. When the two met, Lu Mingyu couldn't control her emotions. She was usually gentle and gentle. She was definitely a graceful and considerate mature woman. Someone who could make her look coldly was definitely not a good person. After the door opened, a handsome man in a white suit walked in. Yang Cheng looked at him. Damn, this guy looks a little familiar. Thinking carefully, yes, isn't this airport? Wu Yu's lover, Vice President Li Mingyi. Li Mingyi, who was in his 30s, had become the dream son-in-law of many women in the company. He was handsome, tall, elegant, and had status and money. It was hard to find a diamond bachelor like him, even if you searched for him with a lantern. It was just that Li Mingyi's sense of beauty surprised many people. His close relationship with the CEO's assistant, the cold-tempered Wu Yu, had long been known among the employees of Yulei. It was no secret. In this company where beauties were as common as clouds, this man, who had the best time and place, did not choose those single beauties from the senior management, nor did he choose those graceful girls from the model department. Instead, he chose Wu Yu, who no one was interested in. It could be said that it was quite ironic. However, these days this vice president seemed to have changed. He began to gradually get close to the new head of the PR department, Lu Mingyu, who was also one of the top single beauties in the senior management. Li Mingyi didn't do anything too exaggerated. Every day or two, he would personally go to the PR department to look for Lu Mingyu. He didn't bring flowers or gifts. He just came to see her. As the company's vice president, Lu Mingyu couldn't force this man to go in. Therefore, every time Li Mingyi entered Lu Mingyu's office, he would dawdle in there for about half an hour before coming out. No one knew why Li Mingyi was looking for Lu Mingyu. They only knew that he was very diligent recently. If it was once or twice, it would be fine. If it was 7, 8, or even more than 10 times, everyone would think that there was something fishy going on. Many people in the Yulei headquarters even gossiped that Vice President Li had been having an affair with Department Head Lu for a long time. It was just that he couldn't reveal it because of Wu Yu. This kind of rumor was actually very convincing. After all, how could you be a match for Li Mingyi? As the person involved, of course, Lu Mingyu also knew all kinds of rumors in the company. She also felt quite helpless. Even though she knew it wasn't the case, she couldn't explain it. She couldn't explain it. As a result, Lu Mingyu couldn't think of anything. She could only pretend that she didn't hear it. Fortunately, Lu Mingyu knew that even if this kind of thing reached Yang Cheng's ears, based on Yang Cheng's personality, he wouldn't take it seriously. At least, he wouldn't blame her. After all, in certain aspects, this guy was paranoid about himself. After Li Mingyi entered the door, he was about to greet Lu Mingyu with a smile. However, he saw Yang Cheng standing behind Lu Mingyu. A strange look flashed across his eyes. Then, he recovered and said cheerfully, "Director Yang is here too. It's been a long time. I heard that you went to Paris to attend a fashion week with General Lin. Did you just come back from your business trip? What's the matter?" Yang Cheng couldn't be bothered to answer this guy's question. Although he had a smile on his face, his tone made it clear that he wasn't interested in talking to him. Li Mingyi didn't feel awkward. He smiled and shook his head. "Nothing serious. It's just that I'm used to chatting with Department Head Lu when I'm free. But it seems that Department Head Lu and Director Yang have something to discuss today. I won't disturb you then. Since there's nothing else, you can leave." Yang Cheng directly sent him off. Li Mingyi's face stiffened. But very quickly, he acted as if nothing had happened. He nodded and said, "It seems that I've disturbed the two of you. I'll leave first. Next time, if there's a chance, let's have a meal together. We're all colleagues, so we should get to know each other better." After that, Li Mingyi walked out and closed the door gently. He didn't seem to have any temper at all. Lu Mingyu didn't say a word from the beginning to the end. After Li Mingyi left, she rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. "You said that to him, and he's lucky that he can tolerate it. If he gets angry and quarrels with you, who's going to clean up the mess in the company?" Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. He was sent by Li Muhua. Li Muhua must have told him something. He won't go against me, at least not on the surface. Lu Mingyu had a rough idea of Yang Cheng's background. It was definitely not ordinary. Otherwise, Lu Qingshan wouldn't have let his only daughter become someone else's mistress so easily. So she wasn't surprised. She changed the topic and said, "He's quite patient. Although I don't know what he's up to. He comes every 2 or 3 days and sits for half an hour. He rambles on and on. I don't know what he's talking about. Even if I ignore him, he could still talk a lot of nonsense. Sometimes I really want him to get out quickly, but I can only hold it in because of my pride. Maybe he really likes you and wants to be honest with you," Yang Cheng said with a meaningful smile. Lu Mingyu asked in return, Can't you show a little bit of impatience and jealousy? You're so calm. But why do I feel like I'm not attractive at all? You don't care about me at all? Hearing the resentment in her words, Yang Chung smiled and said, as long as I think about this guy being intimate with that woman, Wu Yu, I can't be bothered to argue with him. At the mention of Wu Yu, Lu Mingyu was slightly puzzled and said, I don't know what Wu Yu is thinking. Li Mingyi has been looking for me these days, but Wu Yu doesn't seem to have any reaction at all. Could it be that she's not true to Li Mingyi? Yang Chung was no longer in the mood to care about Li Mingyi's matters. Even if this kind of character really had bad intentions, he wouldn't be able to cause any waves. Instead, he smiled and said, Mingyu, babe, what do you think of my suggestion just now? Let's find a time to invite your in-laws to have a meal together. It'll be a show of my sincerity. Lu Mingyu nodded. That's good, but there's no rush. I just moved a few days ago, and there's quite a lot of things to do. I'll tell my parents when I'm free. You moved? Yang Chung frowned and said, why did you move? Lu Mingyu sighed softly and said, my dad bought a new house in Zhonghai after he came back, but there are always people who I don't like to interact with at home. I'm not used to it, so I moved out to live on my own. Yang Cheng's eyes lit up. Alone? Wouldn't that be convenient for him? Hence, he grinned and said approvingly, that's the right thing to do. You're a girl. How can you be in contact with people from the underworld all day long? Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Don't disturb me before I tidy up the new house. Lu Mingyu glared at Yang Chung, and the latter smiled foolishly. After chatting in Lu Mingyu's office for a while, Yang Chung was chased out again. Like Mo Qianyi, they were all people who had work to do. Both of them were busier than Yang Chung, who didn't have to do anything. Yang Chung didn't care. There was still a long way to go. He had to settle the lunch that he hadn't had time to eat first. He ran to the cafeteria of Yu Lei building, which he hadn't eaten for a long time. Yang Chung bought 3 sets of food and sat alone in a corner. He didn't care about the strange looks from some of the employees. After wolfing down the food, he held a toothpick in his mouth and ran back to his office in the entertainment company. Previously, when he was arrested by the police and taken away from the company, the employees in the company were talking about it. This time, when he appeared, it seemed like nothing happened at all. This made the employees in the company feel that the background of this somewhat unruly director was definitely not simple. When he arrived at the office, Anshin, who ran home in the morning, wasn't there either. Yang Chung dragged a long leather sofa to the floor-to-ceiling window. Then, he pulled the curtains open completely, allowing the sunlight to shine through the glass window. Yang Chung lay down on the sofa lazily and started to take an afternoon nap. A while ago, there were always things that kept him busy. It wasn't easy for him to finally have some free time. Yang Chung once again found the feeling of selling mutton skewers. Didn't he come back to the country for this? Putting the emotional problems that troubled him the most to the back of his mind, he fell asleep with satisfaction. In the evening, when it was time to get off work, Yang Chung ran to the appointed place with Mo Qianyi on time. He got in Mo Qianyi's car and went straight to the place where his mother-in-law, Ma Guifeng, was. Mo Qianyi saw that his hands were empty and couldn't help but frown. She asked directly, "You didn't prepare any greeting gifts?" Yang Chung slapped his head. He wasn't stingy. Since he was young, meeting his elders was no different from a fantasy story to him, so he didn't have that awareness. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Little Qian, what do you think should be a gift for our mother? I really have to give it to you. You're so diligent in calling mother, but you don't care about anything else." Mo Qianyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she still drove the car to a roadside flower shop and asked the shop assistant to quickly prepare a bouquet of flowers. When Yang Chung held the bouquet of flowers, he immediately felt depressed. The flowers couldn't be eaten, and they would dry up in 2 days. It was better to buy a few scallion pancakes from a roadside stall. They looked quite fragrant. If Mo Qianyi knew that the gift in this man's heart was scallion pancakes, she would have probably stepped on the gas pedal instead of the brake when driving. When the car drove into a pedestrian street in Zhonghai, Mo Qianyi found a parking lot and got out of the car. Yang Chung followed her out of the car and looked around. He found that there were quite a lot of people around, and the shops were mainly small and medium-sized restaurants. At this time, The night was just approaching. The neon lights around the street gradually lit up, and the entire business district was filled with a lively atmosphere. Mo Qianni went forward and held Yang Cheng's arm, showing a little cute and helpless posture. It was unknown whether she liked it or she wanted to do it for her mother. Anyway, she was in a good mood. She smiled and pulled Yang Cheng into the pedestrian street. "Our mother is here?" Yang Cheng asked curiously. Mo Qianni nodded. "Do you still remember sister-in-law Xiang?" Yang Chen recalled the name and said hesitantly, "Is it Xiang Sa, the lady boss of the Riverside stall?" "Yes, that's her," Mo Qianni said. "Sister-in-law Xiang's food stall has made quite a lot of money these few years, so she rented a shop here and changed a Sichuan food stall into a small Sichuan food restaurant. My mother couldn't stay idle in Zhonghai, so she asked me to help her find a job. I asked sister-in-law Xiang to let my mother do some simple work in the restaurant. After all, my mother's waist isn't very good, but as long as she isn't too tired, she should be fine." In the past, people who had been busy doing farm work in the mountains from morning to night suddenly came to a big city with nothing to do, and it was easy for them to get sick. Yang Cheng could understand that. When sister-in-law Xiang's name was mentioned, Yang Cheng couldn't help but remember that not long after he met Mo Qianni, after he saved Mo Qianni from Lin Kuan, Mo Qianni brought him to the food stall for a meal, and then they met again at the food stall. Involuntarily, Yang Cheng smiled and said, "So a lot of time has passed unknowingly. I remember that after you finished eating, you suddenly asked me, 'Can I hug you?' You don't know how scared I was at that time. I thought I met a female pervert who wanted to molest me." "Who wants to molest you?" Of course, Mo Qianni also remembered that at that time, she was lonely and painful, and what she said to Yang Cheng for no reason. Yang Cheng teased, "Then I don't know who it was, but she made me sleep in the living room of her house, and in the middle of the night, she secretly kissed me while I was sleeping. TSK, I almost sacrificed myself at that time." "You're still talking about it?" Mo Qianni blushed. That time, she ran into the living room for no reason and actually wanted to kiss this guy in the dark. Later, this guy was even more shameless, pretending that he didn't know anything, and let her kiss him just like that. If she hadn't accidentally touched the man's embarrassing part, she would have really been fooled by him. Yang Cheng didn't mind Mo Qianni's shyness at all and continued, "I remember that our relationship was stiff for a while. If it wasn't for the fact that I went to Hong Kong's Million Corporation on a business trip, someone would probably still hate me." Thinking of the time in Hong Kong, Mo Qianni's expression was rather complicated. It could be said that the relationship between the two of them was also established during that period of time. For a moment, the two of them didn't say much. Walking on the street, it was as if the surrounding people had disappeared and there was only each other in the world. Yang Cheng's thoughts flew to the past days. The two of them went to Sichuan province together, the leisurely journey on the train, and the appearance of Mo Qianni waiting for him in the Kunshan village. On that snowy winter day, the two of them climbed to the top of the mountain by the sea. The woman foolishly said that she wanted to be like the sea, a woman who put herself in the lowest position. It was also that night that the two of them had a physical relationship. Later, before dawn, the woman woke up and said that she would wait for him to wake up and dress up. Scenes surged into his heart, sometimes happy, sometimes sad. The past was like a fine wine that became more and more mellow, making it difficult for him to extricate himself from the joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. The corner of Yang Cheng's mouth curled into a bitter smile. How could he give up on them? "You silly woman, I really can't stop you no matter what. You can't like anyone, but you just have to throw yourself at me." Yang Cheng couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Mo Qianni, who was sticking to Yang Cheng's body, pouted, "What? You despise me so quickly?" "Yeah, I despise you." Yang Cheng turned his head. Without waiting for Mo Qianni to get angry, he smiled and said, "I despise you for meeting me too late." Chapter 572. The two of them chatted and laughed. Unknowingly, they arrived at a Sichuan restaurant called Time Fragrance. The signboard was brand new and the fiery red color was very eye-catching. It should have been opened not long ago. Because it was not too late, there were a dozen tables in the small restaurant, and only 3 or 4 of them were occupied. Aunt Xiang, who had not been seen for a long time, was as plump as before and was busy at the counter. Yang Cheng and Mo Chini entered together. Aunt Xiang thought they were customers, but when she looked up and saw the two of them, her eyes suddenly lit up. She squinted her eyes and said, "Nizi, you haven't brought your boyfriend here for a long time. It's Xiao Yang, right? Did I remember correctly?" "If I remember correctly, Aunt Xiang's business seems to be good. You even changed shops," Yang Cheng said with a smile. Aunt Xiang listened happily. "It's a small business. I can make do with it. You're here to visit your mother-in-law with Nizi, right? Guifeng just went to the kitchen and will be back soon." As they spoke, Ma Guifeng, who was wearing an apron and had her hair tied up in a ponytail, walked out of the kitchen with a plate of spicy stir-fried screws. Compared to the last time they met at Kunshan Village, Ma Guifeng didn't change much. She was just dressed more like a city girl. Although there were some wrinkles on her charming face, she looked quite old. From her appearance, it was obvious that she looked similar to Mo Chini. "Mom, Yang Cheng is back," Mo Chini shouted happily. When Ma Guifeng saw Yang Cheng, she was also happy. She could see her daughter every day in Zhonghai. After all, they were living together. However, her future son-in-law happened to be out of the country, and she finally saw him today. She smiled and said, "Yang Cheng is back from a business trip. Wait here. I'll bring the food to the guests first." Yang Cheng nodded. He remembered that Ma Guifeng used to call him son-in-law. Now that she called him by his name, it was much more intimate. After Ma Guifeng served the dishes, she walked up to them and gave Mo Chini a reproachful look. "Why did you pick this time to come over? Don't you know that Auntie Xiang is running a business?" "I'm busy." Yang Cheng was the one who said he wanted to treat Mom to dinner. "I couldn't stop him." Mo Chini pushed the blame onto Yang Cheng, but it was obvious that she was giving him extra points. Yang Cheng hurriedly nodded and said, Yes. I told you on the phone earlier that I wanted to hold a welcoming dinner for you, Mom. I want to apologize to you, too." Ma Guifeng hesitated and said, "The shop is busy. If I go like this..." Aunt Xiang interrupted her. "Guifeng, we're all on the same side. It's not a big deal. Your daughter and son-in-law are here, and I can't stop you from going out. It's not like you're going to work. Don't worry about my shop. I just settled the bill, and I'll serve the dishes tonight. You can go eat with your son-in-law." Hearing Aunt Xiang's words, Ma Guifeng accepted her kindness. She nodded and said, "Then I'll prepare to leave." Although they could eat in a Sichuan restaurant, it wasn't appropriate. If Aunt Xiang wanted to eat and drink for free, it would be difficult for Ma Guifeng with her personality, so she went out to eat. After saying goodbye to Aunt Xiang, the three of them walked out of the restaurant. This time, Mo Chini held her mother's arm and didn't get too close to Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng asked Ma Guifeng about the treatment of her lumbar vertebra and said some considerate words, which made Ma Guifeng quite happy and beamed with joy. Yang Cheng secretly muttered in his heart. In fact, he was quite smart, at least in the ability to make his mother-in-law happy. To be honest, he couldn't do it without this ability. Who asked him to have so many women? Sitting in Mo Chini's Audi, this time it was Yang Cheng who drove. They went straight to a relatively high-end restaurant by the sea. It was the place that Mo Chini had chosen before. The first choice was naturally quiet. After all, Ma Guifeng had a lot to talk to Yang Cheng. They came to a seat by the window on the second floor of the restaurant. Outside the glass window was the sea dyed with color by the lights. In the vast sky, a silver moon quietly hung. Ma Guifeng looked at the restaurant's orderly waiters around her, then looked at the elegant decoration and the beautiful house landscape. It was like Granny Lu entering the Grand View Garden. She kept looking left and right. It could be said that she had spent half of her life in a mountain village. Entering a big city, naturally, she was curious about everything. In the eyes of other young people, this aunt looked like a country bumpkin at first glance. They would despise her, look on coldly, and even ridicule her was very common. However, Yang Cheng didn't care at all. He was very thick-skinned. As soon as he returned to China, he started selling mutton skewers. He stayed in the market all day long and dealt with those hawkers. He didn't have any thoughts about high or low. Seeing Ma Guifeng was all kinds of novel. He even deliberately took Ma Guifeng around the restaurant and let Mo Chini take the order. As a result, A young man and a middle-aged woman swaggered in the restaurant and attracted a lot of attention. Many people pointed at Yang Cheng and the woman, but Yang Cheng didn't care at all. Ma Guifeng was deeply gratified. She came alone from Sichuan province to the big city to find her daughter. On the way, because of her lack of knowledge and culture, she received a lot of supercilious looks. Nowadays, young people, especially those in the city, always look down on a countrywoman like her. Ma Guifeng was not stupid. She couldn't see any hypocrisy in Yang Cheng's eyes. It was clear that he didn't care about her background as a mother-in-law at all. He just wanted to please her and make her happy. She didn't know where her daughter found such a special young man. This time, it was like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. In such a situation, as the middleman, Mo Qianyi was naturally full of happiness. She had come to Zhonghai for so many years and worked hard to reach her current status. There weren't many people who would judge her past background. She was very afraid that her mother would be looked down upon by others. She saw Yang Cheng's sincerity and her love for Yang Cheng quietly deepened. When the dishes were served, Yang Cheng was busy pouring wine for Ma Guifeng. There were 7 to 8 dishes on the table. It was a bit much, but Mo Qianyi knew Yang Cheng's appetite, so she bravely ordered a sumptuous meal. Ma Guifeng insisted on looking at the price on the menu. When she saw that the entire table, including the drinks, cost nearly $3,000, she glared at her daughter and said, "You're wasting your money. If you spend $3,000 to buy groceries and cook at home, how many days would that take?" Mo Qianyi stuck her tongue out and glanced at Yang Cheng. "Mom, don't worry. This amount of money is nothing to Yang Cheng." Although Lin Ruoshi did not mention it, Mo Qianyi, as the second in command of the company, could easily guess that the 50 million yen that helped the company turn the tide was definitely related to Yang Cheng. This man of hers could be considered to be the best. He drove a woman's car, lived in a woman's house, and worked in a woman's company. But he was the one with the most money. It was really helpless for him to be thick-skinned. Yang Cheng did not think much about it. He just smiled and nodded. "That's right. As long as Mom is happy, not to mention 3,000 yen, I won't even bat an eyelid, even if it's 30,000 yen or 300,000 yen. 300,000 yen. Ma Guifeng felt a headache. Although she felt that Yang Cheng should not be from an ordinary family, she also felt that it was too exaggerated. She immediately waved her hand. "Don't talk nonsense. Let's eat. Let's chat." Yang Cheng looked at Ma Guifeng's expression and felt depressed. It was rare for him to speak the truth. Why did his mother-in-law think that he was bragging? Then, the three of them chatted and laughed. Ma Guifeng talked about some embarrassing things that Mo Qianyi did when she was young, which made Mo Qianyi grumble. After that, she asked about Yang Cheng's past and current work situation. Yang Cheng chose some things that would not be easily exposed. When it came to family, it was difficult for Yang Cheng to answer. Currently, although he was not interested and unwilling, it seemed that he could not break away from the Yang family in Yanjing. Especially this time, Yin Sanyang's appearance could be said to be a great help to him. Although Yin Sanyang herself felt that her help was useless, he still owed her a favor. Moreover, even if he did not recognize Yang Gongming, Guo Xuehua was definitely still the daughter-in-law of the Yang family. Even though his wife, Lin Ruoshi, did not care about him, in front of the old man Yang Gongming, she learned to be obedient, which made him not know whether to laugh or cry. Yang Gongming had the two most important women in his hands, so it was difficult for him to break away from the Yang family. Therefore, when he told Ma Guifeng, Yang Cheng also told her that he had family in Yanjing and that his mother was in Zhonghai. Unexpectedly, as soon as he said that his mother was in Zhonghai, Mo Qianyi, who was sitting next to Ma Guifeng, became nervous. She secretly stared at Yang Cheng with a face full of annoyance. Yang Cheng did not understand. Did he say something wrong? At this moment, Ma Guifeng said happily, "So, Yang Cheng, your mother is in Zhonghai. That's great. Why don't we find a day to meet your mother? After all, it's time for her to get married. You two have known each other for a long time. Seeing that you two have such a close relationship, why don't we find a day to settle the matter?" "Huh?" Yang Cheng's brain instantly turned into a puddle of paste. Oh my God, this is too much. How can I be so stupid? No wonder Mo Chinny stared at me, as if I was an idiot. However, Ma Guifeng thought that Yang Cheng was a little surprised, so she did not think much and continued. To be honest, although we have only met twice, I quite like you since you were willing to accompany my daughter back to our poor mountain village. Now that I see you again, the more I look at you, the more I like you. I only have one daughter, and I'm also an experienced person. I know that you can't miss this kind of thing like fate. Take advantage of the fact that I'm still able to give you grandchildren and get married as soon as possible. Mom, I am very busy with work now, and it is still too early for me to get married. Seeing that Yang Cheng was already stunned, Mo Chinny could only shake her mother's hand coquettishly, trying to delay the matter. Ma Guifeng rolled her eyes at her daughter and said unhappily, "What? Do you have to wait until I can't walk before you get married and have children?" Neezy, although Mom's body is better now, I have a lot of problems. I don't know if I'll be paralyzed one day. Mom wants you to get married early for your own good, not to mention that you are not young anymore. Many girls at your age already have children running all over the place. Mo Chinny had nothing to say for a while. Ma Guifeng had used the reason that she might be paralyzed to convince her. As a daughter, it would be too unfilial for her to object. But I can't marry Yang Cheng. Mo Chinny secretly looked at Yang Cheng with resentment. She was helpless and could only see how Yang Cheng would deal with it. Yang Cheng came back to his senses at this time. A lot of thoughts flew in his mind, and he finally understood. Actually, he couldn't hide from this kind of thing for a lifetime. His true relationship with Mo Chinny and his situation would eventually be known by Ma Guifeng, so it was useless for him to hide. It was better to be frank. Fortunately, among his women, Qiang Wei, An Xin, and Lu Mingyu didn't have this problem. After all, Choi Yun was the daughter of the Kai family. Even if Kai Yunxing cared about his own identity, he wouldn't obstruct his daughter's choice too much. Speaking of which, only Mo Chinny was the daughter of an ordinary family. This was also the rare and precious side of her being by his side. I think it's fine. I'll go home today and talk to my mother. I'll ask her to find time to meet you, Yang Cheng said sincerely. Mo Chinny was stunned. She didn't know what Yang Cheng was thinking. Wouldn't it be completely exposed the moment they met? She was anxious, but she couldn't stop him. In fact, Mo Chinny had already met Yang Cheng's mother. After all, Guishuahua lived next door. Several times before, when Guishuahua came to their house with delicious food, she and Xiangwei entertained Guishuahua, and they had a good talk. However, Guishuahua had always thought that Xiangwei was Yang Cheng's lover, and she was just Xiangwei and Lin Ruashi's sister. There was nothing awkward about it. Now, if Guishuahua knew that she was also her son's lover, she didn't know how she would feel. Most importantly, how would her mother react at that time? It was too hard to feel at ease. And when Guishuahua heard that Yang Cheng accepted the proposal, she was even more delighted. After drinking the wine, her cheeks were flushed, and she looked a few years younger. After dinner, Ma Guifeng was a little tipsy. She was helped back to the car by Mo Chinny. Yang Cheng went back to the company to get his car, so after paying the bill, he took a taxi. Watching Missouri Chinny drive away, Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head. He took a breath of the damp and cold air by the roadside. He thought that he could only talk to his mother about Mo Chinny. He had to meet her, but the key was whether he could convince his mother-in-law. If things went south in the end, Yang Cheng could only deal with it when it came. At the same time, on the way home, Ma Guifeng, who was sitting in the car, showed a somewhat different look in her eyes. She leaned on the seat as if she was half drunk and half sober. She asked, "Girl, are you and Yang Cheng hiding something from me?" Mo Chinny, who was concentrating on driving, heard this. Her hands holding the steering wheel trembled. Fortunately, her expression couldn't be seen clearly in the dark. She smiled stiffly and said, "Mom, what are you talking about? You scare me." "You'd better not. If I really find out that you're hiding something important from me, I'll say the ugly words first. I, Ma Guifeng, may not have been educated, but I'm not blind. No matter how well you're doing in Zhonghai, you're still my daughter. I have the right to take care of my daughter. There are some things that you can't do, and you can't have the slightest idea. Ma Guifang's voice was very calm, but when it fell into Mo Chinny's ears, her heart couldn't help beating wildly, and she couldn't say a word. Chapter 573. Yang Cheng's mind was filled with thoughts of how to talk to Guishuehua, and he didn't have a good time on the way home. Although he didn't know that his relationship with Mo Chinny had been suspected by Ma Guifang, Yang Cheng was still very uneasy. When Guishuehua found out that he already had 2 women outside of marriage, and now there was another one, she definitely wouldn't be nice to him. No matter what, his mother was also a woman, and no woman would like a man to have more than one woman, even if the man was her biological son. When he arrived home, it was around 10 o'clock at night. After parking the car in the garage, Yang Cheng slowly walked back to the living room. The scene in the living room made Yang Cheng's face twitch a little. Guishuehua and Mother Wang were sitting on the big sofa opposite the TV. The 2 elders, who had been like sisters recently, were wiping their tears with red eyes. They didn't even bother to greet him when he entered the house. On the big TV, a Korean TV series was being broadcasted on a digital TV. A middle-aged woman was shouting at a middle-aged man, "Oh, bar! Oh, bar!" The middle-aged man also had an expression of men easily shed tears, and he was telling the woman from the bottom of his heart, saying things like, "I haven't given up my feelings for you for the past 30 years. Yang Cheng didn't even need to look at the subtitles to hear the Korean dialogue, which made him annoyed at himself for knowing so many foreign languages. If he didn't know the content of the dialogue, he could deliberately not look at the words so that he wouldn't be disgusted. Since when did my mother start watching Korean dramas? And she even cried with Mother Wang. Wasn't this what Lin Ruoshi and Hui Lin used to do in the past? At this moment, a figure unexpectedly walked out. It wasn't strange that it was Lin Ruoshi, but the key thing was that the place where she walked out was the kitchen. Lin Ruoshi, who had changed into a white home dress, looked like a beautiful young woman. She wore a floral apron on her chest, and she held a plate of watermelon, strawberries, pineapple, and a sumptuous fruit platter in her hands. She gracefully walked from the kitchen to the sofa and put the plate down. When she walked past Yang Cheng, Lin Ruoshi just glanced at him casually and didn't say anything like a fragrant breeze. Lin Ruoshi took off the apron and put it aside, then sat next to Guishuehua. She deliberately moved a little closer and held Guishuehua's arm with both hands, with a gentle smile on her face. "Mom, isn't it very touching? You and Mother Wang are both crying?" Guishuehua couldn't be bothered to say anything else. She just reached out and gently patted the back of Lin Ruoshi's hand and nodded vigorously. "Ruoshi, this drama that you recommended is really good. It's so touching, so touching. This woman has worked so hard for so many years. It's finally worth it. I think it's not easy for this man either. The second female lead is so much prettier, and he's still so single-minded. This kind of man is worthy of a woman's trust." Lin Ruoshi said softly. Guishuehua quickly agreed and said, "Yeah, I thought that the man was going to resign himself to his fate. His mother is really too much, forcing him to marry another woman. Can this kind of relationship be forced?" "Hey, Shuehua, stop talking. Look, that vixen is here again." Mother Wang interrupted nervously. Guishuehua quickly shut her mouth and stared at the TV, not moving an inch. So, the 3 women watched the crying Korean drama while discussing the characters and the plot, completely ignoring the fact that the only man in the family had already returned home and was standing by the sofa. Yang Cheng's heart was about to break into pieces. How could he live like this? His status in the past was not high, and he was only a coolie and bodyguard in the girls' dormitory. Now he was a vacuum. Lin Ruoshi glanced at Yang Cheng with a teasing look when she saw his sad and frustrated face. It was as if she was saying, "Look, even your mother can't be bothered with me when I'm doing something." How could Yang Cheng not know that all of this was Lin Ruoshi's revenge plan for him, rejecting her request? If it was a normal day, at this time, only Guishuehua and Mother Wang would be watching TV at home, and Jinxiu would be upstairs doing homework or staying at school. Lin Ruoshi would be reading or working in the study almost every day, unless she was especially free. Otherwise, Even if she wanted to watch TV, she would go back to her room and watch it alone. Why would she come downstairs to accompany him, and even cut fruits to bring up? Yang Cheng was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. He could only sit in the chair behind him, waiting for the episode to finish. Finally, the episode of the Korean drama came to an end. Yang Cheng quickly got up and went to the sofa, and with a fawning face, he said to Guo Shuihua, "Mom, how about I tell you something?" Guo Shuihua finally had the time to pay attention to her son. While wiping her red eyes, she turned back and said, "What's the matter?" Without waiting for Yang Cheng to continue, Lin Ruoshi suddenly picked up a piece of watermelon with a toothpick and brought it to Guo Shuihua's mouth. She said with a little coquettishness, "Mom, I cut so many fruits, but you haven't eaten yet. Come on." Guo Shuihua suddenly had no time to care about Yang Cheng. Yes, it was rare for her daughter-in-law to be so obedient today. As soon as she arrived home, she helped with the housework. After dinner, she even recommended good TV dramas to the two of them and was busy serving delicious food. She really couldn't let down her daughter-in-law's filial piety. So Guo Shuihua looked at Lin Ruoshi with relief and opened her mouth to eat the watermelon. Mother Wang said with a sour face, "Miss, I fed you a lot when you were young. Why are you trying to please your mother-in-law now?" Lin Ruoshi immediately smiled sweetly. Her cold face suddenly bloomed with the beauty of a rose, and the whole living room was like a sea of flowers. "How can that be? Mother Wang has been the best to me since I was young," Lin Ruoshi said fawningly as she picked up another half of strawberry and brought it to Mother Wang's mouth. She smiled and said, "I know that Mother Wang likes strawberries, so I specially went to buy the freshest one today. It was just this afternoon from Plant City in Florida. The big strawberries were flown in, and they're very sweet." Mother Wang ate the juicy strawberry and was overjoyed. "Why did you have to go through so much trouble? You even bought imported strawberries. Even if you're rich, you can't always be so extravagant." "It's fine. I have to spend the money I earned anyway. Instead of letting it rot in the bank, I might as well use it to show filial piety to the elders," Lin Ruoshi said obediently. Guo Shuihua smiled and gently stroked Lin Ruoshi's hair. She said, "Our Ruoshi has become so sensible after coming back from Europe. Your words are as sweet as honey now." Lin Ruoshi pouted and said affectionately, "When I went to France this time, I realized that I was all alone. I wasn't used to not having you guys by my side. I thought that I should show filial piety to you guys. To me, you guys are more important than anything else." When these words were said, Guo Shuihua and Mother Wang had the urge to burst into tears again. Such emotional words were common on TV, but how could they be heard in an ordinary person's home? Most women were emotional. No matter how old they would always be emotional. Lin Ruoshi wasn't done yet. She continued, "Mom, Mother Wang, don't worry. I won't work day and night like this anymore. I'll show filial piety to you guys. I'll work hard to learn how to cook so that you guys can enjoy a good life in the future." "Silly child, your Mother Wang and I aren't that old. You're in charge of such a big company, and it's doing so well now. It's only right that you're busy," Guo Shuihua said happily. Mother Wang also smiled and nodded. Lin Ruoshi looked at her gratefully. Then, she picked up the remote control and pressed on the TV. "Mom, you can watch the next episode immediately. There are only a dozen episodes left in this TV series. After you finish watching it, I'll recommend you guys to watch another one. It's even better than this one," Lin Ruoshi said. Guo Shuihua and Mother Wang perked up again. When they saw that the TV was indeed playing the next episode, their eyes widened. As for the fact that her son, Yang Cheng, wanted to ask her a question, Guo Shuihua had already forgotten about it. Yang Cheng, who was watching from the side, was dumbfounded. He couldn't say a word, especially when Lin Ruoshi threw him a smug look at the end with a mischievous sneer. Yang Cheng wanted to smash the TV. Chapter 574. It seemed that there was no hope for him to talk to Guo Shuihua about meeting Ma Guifang tonight. In Guo Shuihua's eyes, there were only Korean dramas and Korean dramas. She had no time to care about her poor son. Yang Cheng curled his lips and took a deep breath. He said, "Mom, I'm going upstairs. You guys take your time to watch." After that, He turned around and went upstairs, not caring whether Guo Shuihua heard him or not. Guo Shuihua's brain was delayed for a while. Then she turned around and looked around. She found that Yang Cheng was not there. She asked doubtfully, "Didn't he say he had something to ask me? Where is he?" Yang Cheng went upstairs. "He doesn't seem to be in a good mood." Lin Ruoshi showed a worried expression and said, "Mom, why don't you stay here and watch? I'll go upstairs to check on Yang Cheng. I'm afraid he's in trouble, and that's why he's unhappy." Guo Shuihua and Mother Wang looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. In the past, it was always Yang Cheng who pestered Lin Ruoshi, and Lin Ruoshi ignored him. Why did Lin Ruoshi take the initiative to care about her husband today? Guo Shuihua was very pleased. Her daughter-in-law was finally sensible. She was filial to her elders and considerate to her husband. She said quickly, "Then go quickly. Come down and tell me if there's anything." Lin Ruoshi nodded obediently. Then, she specially taught the two elders how to use the digital TV before going upstairs. Guo Shuihua and Mother Wang were touched again. Yang Cheng, who returned to his room, felt that his brain was a pile of paste. Everything he saw and heard downstairs had completely changed his impression of Lin Ruoshi. Yang Chen had always felt that his wife was too cold. She didn't have the gentleness of a girl, and she didn't know how to please elders. He was always worried that Lin Ruoshi would make Guo Shuihua dislike her. But now, it seemed that these things were nothing in Lin Ruoshi's eyes. Lin Ruoshi's behavior tonight was clearly a demonstration to him. If she wanted to be gentle, she would be gentle immediately. If she wanted to be considerate, she would be extremely considerate. If she wanted to be coquettish and pitiful, it was just a matter of time for her to make the elders like her. No one could reject her appearance, whether it was a man or a woman. Usually, Lin Ruoshi would deliberately freeze herself and not let anyone get close to her. Her family was not ordinary either. But now, after Lin Ruoshi took the initiative to peel off her outer shell and use her unique wisdom to please the elders, Guo Shuihua was instantly captured. In this way, the elders would favor Lin Ruoshi, and they would be especially disgusted by the fact that he had another woman outside. He wanted Guo Shuihua to meet Ma Guifeng, and he also had to negotiate with Mo Qianyi to stay by his side. It was easier said than done. Not to mention this, if he was with another woman in the future, as long as Lin Ruoshi complained to Guo Shuihua would definitely put pressure on him. It was not a matter of whether he cared or not, or whether he was afraid. Yang Cheng did not think that he was a god who could do whatever he wanted. Since he loved women, of course, he would love his family. If he fell out with his family because of a woman, everyone would be hurt. Knock, knock, knock. Just when Yang Cheng was still worrying about what to do next, someone knocked on the door. Yang Cheng thought it was Guo Shuihua who came upstairs to ask him why he suddenly left. He walked to the door and opened it, but he was stunned. Why was it Lin Ruoshi? Lin Ruoshi, who was standing at the door, saw Yang Cheng's dazed expression and pouted innocently. In the past, Yang Cheng didn't even dare to dream of such a delicate expression. "What? You don't seem to welcome me," Lin Ruoshi complained. Yang Cheng opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. His throat was so dry that he couldn't say a single word. Lin Ruoshi ignored him and actually walked around Yang Cheng and into Yang Cheng's room. Yang Cheng couldn't remember if Lin Ruoshi had entered his room before, but he was sure that she would never walk into his room so generously in the past. Lin Ruoshi looked around every corner as if she was thinking about something. Sometimes she frowned and thought, and sometimes she nodded. Finally, she walked to the back of Yang Cheng's bed, bent down, and picked up the dirty clothes and underwear that Yang Cheng had casually thrown on the floor. She rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng and said, "Why did you throw your dirty clothes everywhere? The room will stink. I'll put them in the washing machine for you later." Yang Cheng's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. "Ruoshi, what's wrong with you today?" "Nothing's wrong, I'm fine." Lin Ruoshi smiled gently. "Why? Can't a wife care about her husband's life?" Yang Cheng shook his head, then nodded, then shook his head again. He didn't know how to express it. "It's fine to care, but your concern makes my heart tremble." "Silly, you always said that I'm silly," Look at how silly you are now. Lin Ruashi pouted and asked, do you lack anything in this room? If you do, I can buy it for you, or I can accompany you by it. No, I don't lack anything. Yangcheng wiped his forehead, which was full of cold sweat. Lin Ruashi frowned and said, actually, I don't think it's good for us to live separately. Yangcheng hurriedly shouted, stop, stop. I think it's good to sleep separately like this. Yangcheng was about to cry. In the past, he had thought about lying on the same bed as Lin Ruashi, but now, when he heard what Lin Ruashi meant, his legs almost went soft and he fell to the ground. Lin Ruashi's face was full of disappointment, and she said in a low voice, do you hate me a lot? You despise me, right? Lin Ruashi, don't be like this. This isn't you, Lin Ruashi. Yangcheng couldn't help but shout. His facial features were almost distorted. Can you stop torturing me like this? Let's just return to our normal state. Even if you speak coldly to me and don't even look me in the eye, I don't think much of it. With you like this, I feel that the end of the world has come early. Lin Ruashi still had a miserable look on her face. How can you say that to me? How am I abnormal? I just want to do my duty as a junior and be filial to your mother. Moreover, I'm your wife, so of course I have to care about you. We've been married for almost a year. How can I always let you sleep alone? Yangcheng rubbed his temples in pain. There's only you and me here. Stop pretending. You're doing all this just to force me to break off my relationship with other women. I've already made it clear to you during the day. I do love you. I love you very much. But I also love them, and they've also done a lot for me. I can't hurt every single one of them for you. If you can't accept me like this, you can tell me clearly that it doesn't matter even if I move out. If you want me to divorce you, I'll listen to you. Just don't torture me like this in front of me, okay? No. The sadness on Lin Ruashi's face dissipated, revealing a smug sneer. Why should the man I like and the man who likes me be given to a woman? Since I was young, as long as I want something, I've never lost to anyone, and I won't lose this time either. You want a divorce? There's no way. You saw it tonight. As long as I want a Mom and Mother Wong will lean towards me. Even if Mom loves you, her son, the most, but in front of your son's fickleness and me, her daughter-in-law's filial piety, which side do you think a mother, who's also a woman, will lean towards? Actually, I don't need to say much. You know very well, don't you? Yangcheng was discouraged. He smiled bitterly and said, Ruashi, why do you have to do this? This isn't like you at all. You're wrong. This is the real me. I'm a woman who will do anything to achieve her goal, whether it's cold or hot. It's just a different method. Lin Ruashi smiled sweetly. In the past, when I was alone, of course I had to protect myself well, so that I wouldn't be bullied. Now that I have a protective umbrella like you, why do I have to be so tired of being a human? I only care about being my little woman. Compared to dealing with those old foxes in the business world, it's really too easy to deal with opponents in battle situations in the field of love. Don't you think so, my husband, or should I say, Lord Nether King, Lord Nether King? Chapter 575. Yangcheng already knew that Lin Ruashi should have a certain understanding of his identity. She even thought about it a long time ago, but she never said it. Now that he heard Lin Ruashi call him Pluto so straightforwardly, Yangcheng could only smile bitterly, but he wasn't surprised at all. After all, even before he went to France, Lin Ruashi was very likely to know his identity. Indeed, in the past, the reason why Lin Ruashi became so cold like an iceberg was largely because she was a young woman who stepped into the business world at a young age. It was a way to protect herself in a world full of open and secret strife. Moreover, Lin Ruashi's family also made her suffer a lot, and it was difficult to open her heart and live a happy and optimistic life. But now it was different. After several escapes from death, Lin Ruashi had a more understanding and new understanding of life. Now, she found that she didn't need to worry about herself and the company like in the past. Of course, she didn't need to spend all her energy on work and make herself as difficult as a hedgehog to approach. Family and marriage, for a woman, must have a great meaning. Lin Ruashi always understood it, but she never had the opportunity to face it directly. Fortunately, Yang Cheng gave her an opportunity to put down the burden and manage her own life. So Lin Ruoxi didn't hesitate to accept it. Seeing that Yang Cheng couldn't speak, Lin Ruoxi didn't wait for him to say anything. She carried a pile of laundry and walked to Yang Cheng's side. She whispered into Yang Cheng's ear, "Hubby, when you think it through, you can come to my room to find me at any time." The orchid that came out of her mouth made Yang Cheng's heart beat wildly. This woman actually called me hubby so casually. She really came as she pleased. She still wants to go to her room to find me. Does it mean? But then his burning heart immediately cooled down. Lin Ruoxi said, "I think it through." The meaning of these words was nothing more than waiting for him to give up on other women. What's the difference between saying it and not saying it at all? Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Lin Ruoxi said with a relaxed face, "There's no difference. I just want to make you feel bad." What? Yang Cheng thought he heard it wrong. Lin Ruoxi said matter-of-factly, "I want to stimulate you by putting delicious food in front of you, but I don't dare to open my mouth to eat it. I want you to feel bad. Once you feel bad, you will hold it in your heart. Once you feel bad, you will hold it in, and one day you will explode. Once you feel bad, you will hold it in, and one day it will explode. If you vent your anger on me, then I will appear even more pitiful in front of the elders. At that time, not only Mom, but Grandpa and Yinjing will also help me. If you get angry at other women, that's even better. Once they get hurt, it will definitely cause a crack in your relationship. To me, it's all good and no harm. Maybe when the time comes, they will take the initiative to quit without me having to think about it." Yang Cheng felt a chill run down his spine, and he sighed, "Lin Ruoxi, do you know that you're really good at scheming?" "I know. I've never hidden it." Lin Ruoxi's beautiful eyes were filled with ridicule. "How about it? Do you know what the most poisonous woman's heart is? It doesn't matter. Unless you don't love me one day, you won't be able to beat me." Yang Cheng clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, but he had nothing to say. Indeed, all of this was because he loved her and she loved him. There was no right or wrong in this game. All that mattered was who could conquer the other party psychologically. Lin Ruoxi seemed to have thought of something again. Just as she walked out of the door, she turned around and smiled. "Oh right, my dear husband, my agreement with you is that I won't do anything with those other women for a year. So, after a year, if I do anything to those women, you can't blame me." Yang Cheng turned his head abruptly. He couldn't believe that Lin Ruoxi would directly threaten him. Lin Ruoxi pursed her lips and smiled. "Of course, as long as you break off your relationship with them within a year, I won't care too much about it. Besides, Chinny is still my good sister. I really can't bear to set any traps for her." "Do you have to go so far?" Yang Cheng asked in a low voice. Lin Ruoxi's eyes turned cold. "Since they want to be with a married man like you, then they should be prepared to bear the consequences." Yang Cheng was speechless. He had nothing to say. Once he thought about how Lin Ruoxi wanted to play with other women, Yang Cheng felt that his days would go dark sooner or later. He was a dignified man. How could he be played by a woman to such an extent? He couldn't do it softly. Could it be that he couldn't use force? Just as Yang Cheng was about to harden his heart and teach Lin Ruoxi a lesson, Lin Ruoxi, who was at the door, seemed to have already seen through it. She tilted her head and said sweetly, "Do you think that if you use force to push me down, I can only listen to you obediently? If you really think that way, you can try. Anyway, it's not unacceptable for me to sleep with my legal husband. It's just that if I get scared and resist, I might get hurt easily. And if I get hurt, it seems like I have more things to talk to my mother about. I wonder what Mom would think if she knew that her son actually used force on his wife." Yang Cheng staggered back 2 steps and sat down on the bed. His whole face collapsed. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. Lin Ruoxi's mouth curved into a victorious smile. She waved at Yang Cheng and said, "Good night." Then she helped Yang Cheng close the door and left. That night, Yang Cheng couldn't sleep at all. He lay on the bed and tossed and turned. His mind was filled with the words and expressions of the changed Lin Ruoxi. He suddenly missed the cold, shy, and talkative Lin Ruoxi, because that kind of Lin Ruoxi Although she wasn't interesting, at least she made him feel sorry for her. Now, although he knew that she was still her, just with a different expression, but she made Yang Cheng's head hurt. He couldn't beat her, couldn't scold her, and was forced to make a decision. Yang Cheng had never felt so useless before. It turned out that being liked by a woman was such a painful thing. He could only take it one step at a time. Yang Cheng thought for a whole night, but still couldn't find a solution. When the sun rose, Yang Cheng didn't feel tired. Sleeping was actually not essential to him. It was just a habit. Because it was the weekend, Yang Cheng went downstairs a little late. He found that in the dining room, only Mother Wong was cleaning the dishes and no one else was there. He asked in confusion, "Mother Wong, why are they all finished eating?" Mother Wong was not as enthusiastic to Yang Cheng as before because of Anshin. She nodded and said, "They have eaten a long time ago. Last night, they said that they would go to the orphanage to see the children, and even Jinxiu went." Jinxiu also went? Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. Although it was normal for Jinxiu to go back to the orphanage, it was the stage of the college entrance examination. She would never go back to the orphanage unless it was a very important time. After all, it would take half a day to go there. It was obvious that Lin Ruoxi didn't want to let go of her little sister, Jinxiu. She wanted to pull the whole family to her side, leaving Tang Chuan isolated and helpless. Thinking of this, Yang Cheng's appetite was reduced by half. After eating a few mouthfuls, he drove out. He didn't want to go to the orphanage, but to Ivy Nursing Home. Actually, when he returned to China, he had already planned to go to the nursing home to see how Jane's treatment of grandfather Tang was progressing. He also wanted to see if Tang had run into any trouble. Also, he wanted to check on his brain. He had a headache the day he was in Europe, so he needed to ask Jane to check on him. However, as soon as he returned to China, things came one after another. So, Yang Cheng didn't immediately find time to go over. Taking advantage of the weekend, Yang Cheng decided to do everything that needed to be done. The traffic was a little heavy on the weekends. After nearly an hour's drive, Yang Cheng arrived at the nursing home. He greeted the security guard at the entrance and walked to the inner courtyard where grandfather Tang was. As soon as he stepped into the familiar courtyard, Yang Cheng was stunned by the scene that appeared in front of him. Under a tall jujube tree, there was a bluestone table with an old man and a young woman sitting at each end. The two of them were playing the black and white chess pieces of the Go game on the bluestone table. The woman was wearing a white coat and her amber hair was simply tied up with a rubber band, revealing a cold and elegant side profile. It was Jane. As for the old man, Tang Chuan didn't recognize him at first. His hair was white and he was wearing a loose navy blue robe. He was in high spirits, and there was a hint of arrogance between his eyebrows. It was actually the crazy and paralyzed grandfather Tang. Chapter 576. Looking at this scene, Yang Chun immediately understood that during the days he was away, Jane had miraculously cured Master Tang, who was on the brink of death. Hanya, who had been protecting Jane, was wearing a black suit that looked like a white-collared office worker. This female ninja was becoming more and more like an ordinary city beauty. She stood at the end of the corridor and saw Yang Cheng. She nodded and greeted him respectfully. "Master." At this moment, Jane and Tang Zhichen turned around. Jane winked playfully. "You're finally back. I've been waiting for you for almost 3 days. How could you come so late? If you didn't come, I would have gone to your house to look for you." Yang Cheng laughed awkwardly. Others might not know that he had returned early, but Jane definitely knew. After all, Catherine would contact her in Europe. He walked up to her and said, "I wanted to come and look for you after I was done with my work, but I didn't expect you to surprise me. It's nothing. Don't you trust me? I'll definitely do what I promised you. I cured Grandpa Tang before you returned to the country." Jane wrinkled her nose and said playfully, "How are you going to thank me? For helping you?" Yang Cheng shrugged. "That depends on when Tang Wan will thank me. I'll just give it to you." "Hey, why are you so insincere?" Although Jane knew that Yang Cheng was joking, she was still unhappy. Yang Cheng grinned and turned to look at Tang Zhichen, who had been silent all this time. In fact, Tang Zhichen had been looking at Yang Cheng since he entered the courtyard. Tang Zhichen didn't look like he had when he was sick. The old man had a dignified expression on his face, but he was curious and kind towards Yang Cheng. "You're Yang Cheng?" Tang Zhichen asked. Yang Cheng looked at his attire and smiled. "Don't tell me Master Tang thinks that I don't look like him?" "Nope." Tang Zhichen shook his head. "How so?" Yang Cheng wasn't surprised that Tang Zhichen would meet him for the first time. After all, he didn't know who was who back then. Tang Zhichen smiled meaningfully. "You look too ordinary. It's as if you've always been like this. But that's exactly what makes you extraordinary. To be honest, I'm very interested in such a feeling for a young man of your age." Yang Chun didn't respond to Tang Zhichen's question. He sighed in his heart. No wonder Tang, one was so eager for this old man to recover. Although it was out of filial piety, Tang Zhichen was able to point out Yang Chen's unique traits. This old man was much more solid than he looked. That morning, after comprehending some things, although he had undergone a qualitative change, what he displayed was insignificant and undetectable. If one didn't have a special understanding of oneself, it would be very difficult for one without great wisdom to discover it. According to Tang Wan, Tang Zhichen had retired from politics for many years, but he was the only one in the Tang family who could control the situation. He was indeed not an ordinary person. Jane was confused. "Yang Cheng, what did you say to Grandpa Tang? What do you mean by ordinary?" Yang Chen smiled. Even if Jane's IQ was the highest in the world, there were still some mysterious things that this woman couldn't understand. "I'd like to congratulate Grandpa Tang on his recovery. Are you going back to Beijing today?" Yang Cheng asked. Tang Zhichen smiled. "Since I've recovered, it doesn't make a difference whether I go back or not." Yang Chun was speechless. Then he smiled knowingly and nodded. "That's right. Since the tigers in the mountains have regained their vigor, why would the jackals and wolves who caused trouble before still dare to jump around? But it's too humid here in Jiangnan. I'm not used to living here. If I wasn't waiting for you to come back to Zhonghai, I might have left today," Tang Zhichen said. Yang Cheng didn't refuse. He was indeed Tang Zhichen's benefactor. "I don't have many friends, but Tang Wan and I are good friends. I'll help her if I can." "Oh," Tang Zhichen smiled. "Now that you mention it, I remember now. Are you really just friends with my granddaughter?" Jane's eyes widened when she heard the question. To her, Yang Cheng's private life was the gossip she was most interested in. Yang Cheng didn't know what to say. He had tried to push Tang Wan down before, and they were more than just friends. They even liked each other. But after Lin Ruoshi's incident yesterday, Yang Cheng didn't dare to push Tang Wan into the muddy water again. After struggling for a while, Yang Cheng said embarrassedly, "At least for now, I haven't done anything that's too much." This answer was no different from telling Tang Zhichen that he might give his granddaughter to someone else in the future. Tang Zhichen didn't expect Yang Cheng to be so direct. He was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. "Then I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll do next." Yang Cheng was stunned. "Is this old man trying to sell his granddaughter to me? Is he trying to thank me by giving me a granddaughter as a gift?" After chatting for a while, a petite figure walked over. It was a girl with an oval face wearing a light yellow spring dress. She was Tang Wan's cousin, Tang Xin. Tang Xin was carrying a purple clay tea set. White steam was rising from the tea set. It should be freshly brewed tea. Seeing Tang Xin bringing the tea over, Anya, who had been standing in the corner silently, walked out and stopped Tang Xin. "Miss Tang, let me bring it over." Tang Xin was annoyed. She shouted at old Master Tang, "Grandpa, why is this woman so annoying? Why does she always stop me from bringing you things? Grandpa, you have to control her." "Aya, Xin just listen to her. This is all for Grandpa's safety. Grandpa knows that Xin has been wronged, but Xin has to understand your sister's efforts," Tang Zhichen said dotingly. Tang Xin pouted and mumbled, "Sister is too much. It's enough to guard against Don Juan. Why doesn't she let us get close?" As she spoke, Tang Xin passed the tea set to Hanya and asked her to bring it to the chessboard. When Tang Xin saw Yang Cheng in the courtyard, her face lit up. "Mr. Yang, when did you come back?" "Thanks to you inviting Miss Yiling, Grandpa has recovered." Yang Cheng smiled and asked, "Where's your sister?" Tang Xin looked at Yang Cheng playfully. She pursed her lips and said, Miss Yiling will be sad if you miss my sister so much. My sister is very busy with work. She usually comes to visit Grandpa after work. Yang Cheng nodded. He was a little disappointed. He hadn't seen Tang Wan for a long time. Her voluptuous figure appeared in his mind, and he missed her. From his point of view, he was really a reckless womanizer. Even if he knew that the women around him now made him annoyed, facing a mature woman like Tang Wan who took the initiative to send herself to him, he still felt an itch. It said that only a pure heart and few desires can lead to success. My cultivation has been increasing continuously, but my six senses have never been peaceful. Could it be that I'm not profound enough? Tang Xin spoke with Tang Zhichen for a while before leaving to prepare lunch. Once again, the four of them were left in the courtyard. It was quiet. Yang Cheng was puzzled. It seems like a lot of things happened while I was away. I was wondering why there were so few people in the courtyard. So it's because they don't let us near. It can't be helped, Jane explained. The poison that Grandpa Tang was poisoned with is a poison that hasn't appeared in the world yet. In other words, the other party purposely concocted a hidden poison to poison Grandpa Tang. As the nature of the poison hasn't been confirmed, I can't be sure how it spread. So, whether it's food or any other physical contact, we have to take special precautions. Not to mention Miss Tang Wan. Even Miss Tang Wan herself didn't come into close contact with Grandpa Tang to avoid arousing suspicion. Yang Cheng frowned. You're saying you can't determine its nature? This shocked Yang Cheng. Although Jane had detoxified the poison, she couldn't determine its nature. This meant that the person who invented the poison was definitely on par with Jane in terms of biological engineering. Because of this, Jane couldn't completely solve the problem of the poison in a short period of time. To be exact, I still need a few more days to do it, Jane said unhappily. Don't worry. Although the other party is strong, he's not strong enough that I can't do anything about it. Since I can detoxify the poison, of course, I can completely decipher everything related to the poison. Hearing this, Yang Cheng couldn't help but ask, You mean you want to stay in Huaxia? Why can't I? Jane said with a wronged expression. Are you in a hurry to let me leave after using me? Yang Cheng was embarrassed and quickly waved his hand. Of course not. I'm afraid that you'll be retaliated by someone. After all, the culprit who poisoned Elder Tang hasn't been caught. It's definitely not safer for you to stay in Huaxia than in England. Don't worry, with Hanya protecting me, I'll be fine, Jane said. Yang Cheng looked at Hanya, who was standing aside, and said, Then I can only trouble you to protect Jane. If you think it's too much time, you can call a few Jonin over. Yang Cheng knew that the secret meeting in Europe this time was because Hanya was in Huaxia. Only one Jonin was sent as a representative. Although Yamada sect had lost a leader like Noriko Okoa, the forces in Japan and even the whole of Asia were intertwined, and there were bound to be a lot of big and small things. However, Hanya immediately lowered her head in fear and said humbly, It's my honor to be able to protect Miss Jane. Please don't say the word trouble, Master. Yangsha didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If she had stayed by the old pervert Tokugawa's side for too long, her servility would have been cultivated to a terrifying extent. Treating her a little better would have made her feel uncomfortable and afraid instead. Such a woman was very suitable for some special programs, which would definitely be very exciting. However, in the past, he might have used Hanya to play with, but now he wasn't in the mood. He couldn't even take care of his own woman. How could he have the time to play with such a big game? Yang Cheng didn't say anything else. He was going to let Jane check the condition of his brain, so he asked Hanya to temporarily protect Tang Zhichen while he went to the laboratory with Jane to do some tests. Seeing that Yang Cheng didn't intend to let her go back to Japan, Hanya calmed down from her anshin and quickly agreed. Jane's face turned slightly pale when she heard that Yang Cheng wanted her to check his old problem. Although she knew that Yang Cheng had a big fight with the Vatican in Europe, she didn't know that Yang Cheng's illness had relapsed. Hearing this, she immediately rushed to the clinic in the sanatorium with Yang Cheng. Tang Zhichen sat on a stool alone and looked at the chess game that was halfway through. He shook his head and sighed. He was old and experienced, but he didn't know what Yang Cheng's old problem was. After Jane came, The sanatorium that was already well-equipped had many high-tech instruments added to the clinic. It was more than enough to check Yang Cheng's brain. As soon as she entered the clinic that was full of white high-precision electronic equipment, Jane, who was wearing a white coat, changed her expression. She no longer looked relaxed. Her beautiful face was as beautiful as a Western painting, and she was as serious as a teacher who was about to teach a student who had made a mistake. She pointed at a large detector and ordered Yang Cheng with bright eyes, "Take out all the metal objects on your body, including your belt, and then lie on it. Hurry up." Chapter 577. Yang Cheng didn't dare to say anything. He knew that this woman was no different from an antique or a mad scientist once she entered the professional field. So he obediently followed the instructions and took off all the metal objects on his body and lay down on the diagnosis and treatment equipment. Jane saw that Yang Cheng was ready and pressed a few buttons of different colors. After adjusting the equipment settings, she slowly sent Yang Cheng's body into the large cylindrical detector. As soon as Yang Cheng's body entered the detector, rows of colorful LED lights flashed around the detector, which looked quite sci-fi. Jane didn't look at the beautiful lights, but focused on the monitor on the side. On the 3 large LCD screens, there were all white words on a black background. All kinds of complex data were transmitted through the detector. The abbreviations of various medical and biological terms and the reaction data of various light waves and rays were constantly flashing and changing on the display. If ordinary people saw it, they would definitely be confused and wouldn't know what these scribbles were. Even professional medical experts or biologists would find it difficult to immediately distinguish the connection between these data, because this was a system designed by Jane herself. Jane's eyes stared straight, like the most advanced scanner. All the data passed through her eyes and entered the brain at the fastest speed for analysis. Gradually, as the data was fully displayed, the expression on Jane's face gradually changed from solemnity to surprise, doubt, and other emotions. There was even a bit of irrepressible joy. When Yang Cheng was slowly sent out of the detector, Jane immediately turned around and asked, "Yang Cheng, during your time in France, did you have any other reactions other than headaches?" Yang Cheng sat up, carefully recalled, and curled his lips. "Nothing special." "Is there a problem with the test results?" Jane lowered her head and pondered for a while before looking up and shaking her head with a smile. "It's not a problem. It's no problem. If the data is correct, the abnormal disease in your brain should have been cured." Jane's eyes were full of excitement, but the elegant temperament that she had developed since she was a child prevented her from showing too much excitement. Yang Cheng suddenly realized something and confirmed something. He said in a relaxed manner, "Since you said it's fine, then I don't have to doubt it anymore. Actually, I already had this hunch before I came here, but I still couldn't be at ease without confirming it through scientific means." "You mean you know some of the reasons?" Jane immediately figured out the other meaning of Yang Cheng's words. She asked with great interest, "Is it the magical Hua Xia's internal energy that you mentioned last time?" Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head. "I don't know if this counts as internal energy. I can only tell you that after I figured out some things, I felt like the tumor in my mind that I couldn't get rid of was disappearing. I don't know why exactly." Jane frowned. She naturally couldn't think about things that weren't data, so she didn't ask any more questions. Yang Cheng looked at the time. It was already past 10 o'clock, so he took the initiative and said, "You've worked hard here these days. I'll take you out for lunch today to reward you. Are you free? At least you have some conscience." Jane pursed her lips and smiled. She was very happy to see that Yang Cheng's illness had been cured for many years. Although it was inexplicably cured, she was still very happy. The two of them left the sanatorium. Old Master Tang Zhichen was naturally handed over to Hanya. Hanya wasn't dissatisfied at all. She had already heard from the Jonin subordinate who was sent to the secret meeting that Yang Cheng had killed 2 6-winged angels in Europe. She only wanted to curry favor with Yang Cheng so that she and Yamada's sect could last for a long time. She didn't have any thoughts of disobeying him, because Jane rarely came to Huaxia, and when she was here, she was treating old Master Tang in the sanatorium. Therefore, she was quite excited to come out for a stroll. She changed into a white dress, white high-heeled shoes, and a wide black belt. The refreshing attire made the heir to the Welsh royal family look like an ordinary foreign female tourist. However, this female tourist would definitely attract more attention on the street than an international movie star. Yang Chung originally thought that a girl like Jane, who had lived a good life since childhood, would be interested in some ordinary street food or some specialty restaurants. Therefore, he drove the BMW around the streets and asked Jane what she liked to eat. Sitting in the passenger's seat, Jane frowned slightly and pouted unhappily. "Yang Chung, why are you only bringing me to small restaurants? Are you that stingy?" "Huh?" Yang Chung was embarrassed. It seemed that this lady was different from the rich girl in his mind. He quickly explained, "I thought you weren't interested in high-end restaurants, so I brought you to see some specialty restaurants. It's true that I'm not interested in high-end restaurants, but I know that most of the food here is unhygienic. Also, I don't like to be stared at by people passing by on the street like I'm a protected animal. I came out to eat with you mainly because of you, not because I'm greedy for food." Jane complained, as if she was blaming Yang Chung for not understanding her mind. "So that's why." Yang Chung nodded shyly. Indeed, whenever the car window was rolled down, the people outside would stare at Jane nonstop. Who asked this Western chick to be so hot? It would be a waste if the peddlers and passers-by here didn't miss it. Since that was the case, Yang Chung didn't delay any longer. He drove directly to a high-end dining area in the suburbs and found a high-priced steakhouse. After entering the restaurant, the head waiter brought the two of them to a two-seater table by the window on the second floor. Outside was a sparkling spring lake. It was April, the season when the grass was long and the orioles were flying. The scenery of the willows was elegant and refined. There weren't many people in the restaurant. The melodious violin concerto was mixed with the sound of conversations, which made people feel relaxed and happy. After ordering, Jane asked, "After you killed the 2 six-winged angels in Europe, did the remaining 2 holy bodies still exist?" Yang Chung asked in confusion, "What do you want to do? Don't tell me you want to use the holy bodies as dissecting materials?" "Can't I?" Jane pouted and lowered her head to take a sip of juice, a little embarrassed. "It's very precious information. I've always wanted to know what's so special about the human body that can accommodate the angel's descent. I don't believe it's because those people don't have any dark side. It must be a physiological problem." Yang Chung smiled bitterly. "Although they were killed by me, they were the most glorious force of the Vatican. Even if they died, they wouldn't allow themselves to be used as experimental materials like lab rats." Jane smiled and said, "Aren't you here? With you here, who would dare to disagree?" Yang Chung sighed helplessly. "You and your mother, who didn't grow up, are essentially no different. Both of you like to mess around. The people of Wales are really blind. Oomph. If you really think I'm the same as that woman, why did you only sleep with her and not touch me?" Jane asked straightforwardly. Yang Chung was about to drink water and almost choked when he heard this. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Catherine and I are historical issues. If it was now, I wouldn't have that kind of relationship with her. But that woman called me proudly the day before yesterday and told me that she fought with you in bed for the whole morning," Jane said sourly. The corner of Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. Can't this mother and daughter talk about something else on a daily basis? He only said, "You're different from your mother. You're still very young. There must be many outstanding men that you can like in the future. It's just because you've been thinking about the past that you can't get over me. I think it's more suitable for us to be friends. You know, I already have a lot of women around me now. It's really a headache. If I liked you 8 years ago because I was ignorant and immature about love when I was young, then if I like a man now, there won't be any extra elements to interfere with my judgment. I'm Jane. I look at problems calmly more than anyone else," Jane said seriously. Yang Chung didn't say anything. He didn't know how to persuade Jane. This woman's persistence made him feel ashamed. All along, other than him saving her and Catherine's lives, it was almost always her who did things for him. Her achievements today were initially only because she wanted to cure his brain disease. Otherwise, Jane could just happily be a royal princess. She wouldn't have to wear a white coat do all kinds of research that she didn't really care about, and teach such a group of students to work for her. Jane saw that Yang Chung was silent and couldn't agree to her. She smiled bitterly and supported her chin with a pair of soft white hands. She said sometimes, I even think that if I knew that I would spend so many years, or even my whole life in sadness, and loss because of you, I might as well let my short life end on that day. Don't say that. You've always been someone that I value very much. It's just that I'm already in a terrible mess because of my relationship. I really don't have the spare time to think about anything else. Yang Cheng's heart ached slightly. Jane's appearance surpassed the barriers of Eastern and Western aesthetics. It was enough to make countless men fall head over heels for her, but she spent most of her time waiting for him to disappear. How could he feel a little guilty towards her? The atmosphere between the two was a little depressing. It wasn't until the meal was served that it improved a little. Yang Chung ordered a bottle of red wine. Although the red wine that could be provided here wasn't high enough for Jane, it was at least a decent meal. But just as the two were about to have a toast, from near the entrance of the corridor, a figure that attracted a lot of attention came up. Even Jane, who had always been calm, showed a trace of surprise when she saw the person. Chapter 578. This was a man with shoulder-length hair. His hair was messy, as if it hadn't been washed for many days. The ends were also split and yellow. The man's face was unshaven, and he wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses. It could be seen that he was not old. His facial features were not obvious because of the unshaven stubble. What made people even more speechless was that this guy actually came to the Western restaurant wearing a white coat. This white coat did not look like what a doctor would wear in a hospital because it was full of colorful stains that looked like paint or dye. Instead, he looked like a mad scientist that appeared in some movies and did not care about his appearance. The man's feet were even wearing a pair of cowhide military boots of excellent quality. It was unknown how many years it had been worn. It was full of friction marks. He didn't tie the shoelaces and just put it on there. The appearance of this man made many consumers in the restaurant on the second floor, who claimed to be gold-collar workers and upper-class people, frown because this man was too much like a beggar. The supervisor of the restaurant was bitter at this time. He also knew how risky it was to take this man upstairs. He was just a small waiter. If he angered some customers, how could he afford it? But the problem was that the manager of the restaurant, who had the most power, immediately didn't dare to obstruct after the man showed a strange certificate. He had to lead the customers upstairs, as usual. After the man looked around, he pointed to a table near the position of Yang, Chung, and Jane, and said in a faint tone, "I'll sit there." The supervisor quickly bowed and lowered his head to agree. He didn't dare to look at the eyes of other customers. He thought that after settling this strange man, he would directly ask other waiters to do the following work. Yang Chung and Jane looked at each other. They knew from each other's eyes that they didn't know this guy, but this guy obviously came for them. When the man sat down at the table next to them, the supervisor immediately left and called a waiter to order for the man. Yang Chung saw that the man didn't speak, so he ignored him. He clinked glasses with Jane and ate by himself. Jane, on the other hand, was not very comfortable. There was suddenly such a sloppy guy at the next table. She could smell a rotten smell from almost 2 meters away. She could tell from this smell that this man must be doing biochemical research, because she was very familiar with this kind of scientific research. The rare time she had with Yang Chung was ruined by an uninvited guest. The other customers in the restaurant saw that the man didn't approach them, so they ignored him and didn't cause any more waves. A young waiter who was elected came to the man's side and asked, "Sir, do you need any suggestions, or can I order directly?" The man opened his mouth and said, "Give me 2 18-ounce pieces of beef eye." The waiter nodded and asked, "How well would you like it?" 1 point, the man said. The waiter was taken aback, suspecting that he had misheard. "You mean 1 cent? What? You don't know how to do it." "Then give me raw meat directly, but it has to be fresh," the man said in a flat tone. The waiter swallowed his saliva and felt a chill on his forehead. He forced a smile and said, "Sir, do you really want it medium well?" "At most medium well. I won't eat more than that." The man glanced at the waiter. His eyes under the glasses showed a touch of coldness, which made the waiter dare not ask anymore. The waiter, who was about to escape, finally asked. Then, sir, what would you like to drink? The man waved his hand and said, I brought my own. Go get me raw beef. Huh? The waiter was stunned again. The man suddenly reached into the big pocket on the side of his white coat and took out a half-drunk glass bottle of wine. There was no label on the bottle, and it was the size of a 500-milliliter soda bottle. Seeing the man put the bottle on the table, and it was a bottle of white wine, the waiter's face was as bitter as a bitter gourd. He whispered, Sir, we don't allow you to bring your own wine here. After saying this, the waiter lowered his head so much that he could bury it in his chest, as if he was afraid that this strange man would suddenly eat him. The man didn't say anything. Instead, he took out a handful of red $100 bills from his pocket. Even with a casual glance, there were more than 10 of them. I'll take this money as buying the wine from you, the man said. What else could the waiter say? This money was enough to buy the most expensive wine in the restaurant. After accepting the money with trembling hands, he quickly left to get the man the medium well steak he needed. The man's strange behavior had already attracted the attention of many people in the restaurant. However, everyone was just curious, and no one would come up to ask anything. When Jane heard that the man wanted to eat the medium well steak, she frowned slightly. After all, she was a woman. The thought of eating raw beef that was dripping with blood still made her rather resistant. The man ignored the gazes of the people around him. After taking off the lid of the glass bottle, he directly took the bottle and poured the wine into his mouth. Even though there was a wine glass on the table, he was too lazy to use it. This made Yang Chung, who was at the side, feel a little funny. He was also someone who didn't like to be restricted by rules and regulations, but compared to this old man's reckless behavior, he was still relatively civilized. Unexpectedly, in the next second, the wine in the man's bottle emitted a sour and pungent smell. Rather than calling it wine, it was more like some kind of drug alcohol. Jane was slowly chewing on the steak. When she smelled this smell, she almost spat out the beef in an unladylike manner. Yang Cheng's hands also paused. He was no stranger to this kind of wine, but he still couldn't believe that someone would bring this kind of wine to a Western restaurant to eat steak. Jamaican rum? Yang Chung said suspiciously. The man poured another mouthful into his mouth and swallowed his throat in enjoyment. Only then did he turn his head and grin. You know? Yang Chung smiled bitterly. It really was that wine. Jane heard that Yang Chung actually knew this kind of wine. She looked over curiously. She knew a lot about high-end wine, but she had never heard of this strange wine. The alcohol content is 80%. A sip can make some people faint. It is one of the most unpleasant wines in the world. Rather than wine, it is more like drinking sulfuric acid. Yang Cheng's words were directed at Jane. When Jane heard that the wine turned out to be 80%, she opened her small mouth in surprise. She knew that Yang Cheng's body was special. Alcohol couldn't really hurt Yang Cheng, but this strange man actually drank 80% alcohol so easily. He shouldn't be an ordinary person. Moreover, this wine smelled so bad. How could this person still drink it on him? The man took another sip indifferently, and suddenly said leisurely, It seems that Princess Jane is not as knowledgeable as the rumors say. At least, you don't know as much as Mr. Yang Chung about wine. Hearing the man directly say their names, Yang Chung and Jane were not too surprised, because they knew from just now that this strange guy must have come to find them. It was just that Jane was teased, and there was a hint of displeasure in her beautiful eyes. At this moment, the waiter came back with a tray of steaks. The speed of serving the dishes was amazing because the man wanted medium well. 2 18-ounce medium well steaks. In fact, they were not processed at all. There was only a little white on the outermost surface. At a glance, it was purely 2 large pieces of bloody meat. After the waiter served the dishes, he directly moved away, as if he didn't dare to look at the scene of someone cutting raw meat in front of him and eating it. The man stacked the 2 pieces of raw beef together, then picked up the knife and fork and cut the 2 pieces one by one. The blood of the beef flowed into the plate after being squeezed like juice, and the fresh beef exuded a faint fishy smell. The man was like a beast that smelled delicious food. He opened his bloody mouth and sent the fresh raw steak into his mouth. The range of chewing was particularly large. The upper and lower jaws were constantly opening and closing, and the teeth in beef made a chi-chi-chi sound. As the man chewed, some blood splashed out of the beef mixed with saliva and flowed down from the corner of the man's mouth. The man didn't care and continued to eat in big mouthfuls. This way of eating directly made Jane feel nauseous, and she almost vomited. She put down the knife and fork directly and didn't dare to look again. She had no appetite to eat. Yang Chun, on the other hand, didn't feel much. He had eaten corpses before, so it wasn't challenging to watch someone eat raw beef. Seeing that Jane wasn't going to eat anymore, he forked the remaining steak into his plate and started eating happily. The man on the side finished eating halfway and saw that Yang Chung was also wolfing down his food. He grinned, revealing 2 rows of red and white teeth stained with blood, and said, "I'm sorry, I was too hungry just now and didn't have time to introduce myself. My name is Yin Buan, and it's an honor to meet the second Pluto." "What? You're Yin Buan?" Without waiting for Yang Chung to speak, Jane turned her head and said with surprise in her eyes. Yang Chung didn't expect it to be this person. He was previously hurt by Kristen and had no choice but to beat up Yin Bushua. He knew that he wouldn't get along well with the Yin family, but he didn't take it to heart. However, he had some impression of this Yin Buan. After all, Tang Wan, Yun Miao, and others had mentioned him. Yin Qingtian, the head of the Yin family, had even torn apart Yang Pujuan's dream of being promoted. The great hero of the Yin family was Hua Xia, the scientific genius in front of him, Yin Buan. Compared with his brother's pretentious appearance, Yin Buan's appearance was indeed amazing. Chapter 579. While Yin Buan continued to cut the 2 bloody steaks, he said calmly, "Does Princess Jane think that someone will pretend to be me?" Jane really couldn't stand this guy's disgusting food. Her mouth and nose were full of the sour smell of Jamaican rum and cow blood. She turned her head and frowned. "Although I have long felt that you would be a little unusual, I didn't expect your abnormality to be so disgusting." "Thank you for the compliment," Yin Buan said inexplicably, then put a mouthful of raw beef into his mouth and chewed. "I heard that Princess Jane of the British Royal Society of Sciences appeared in Zhonghai in a low-key manner, so I put down my work and came here. Of course, I have also admired Mr. Yang for a long time. Master Yang is also an elder that I, as a junior, respect. It just so happens that I am able to meet both of you at once today. I wonder if I have the honor to have a drink with both of you?" Yang Chung felt uncomfortable. Sure enough, his relationship with the Yang family was no longer a secret within these big families in Yinjing. No matter how much he wanted to avoid it, he couldn't. However, as his relationship with Guo Xiuhua improved, he was no longer as conflicted about the concept of the family as before. After all, even if Yang Pejuan and Yang Lai were disgusted with him, Yang Gongming, Guo Xiuhua, and even Yin San Yang were full of goodwill towards him. What's more, the Yang family didn't want to abandon him at the beginning. His encounter was partly due to their lack of consideration, but it couldn't be blamed on them. The improvement of his cultivation also improved his state of mind at the same time. The improvement of his state of mind made him more open-minded about many things. Of course, it didn't mean that Yang Chung could escape into Buddhism and see through the world of mortals, but he could look at many things more rationally. At this time, Jane sneered disdainfully. "Don't you think it's hypocritical to say that?" Yang Chung was slightly surprised. Why did Jane seem to have a grudge against Yin Buan? Even though he had beaten his brother's man, she didn't go against Yin Buan. Jane's temper had always been mild. She wouldn't care about ordinary things. Princess Jane seems to have misunderstood me. I don't know how I offended the princess. Yin Buan knew Jane's true identity, so he spoke bluntly. Yang Qing also looked at Jane curiously. It was the first time he saw Jane sneer at someone. Jane pouted her lips in annoyance. It was rare for her to show such an angry expression. She explained to Yang Chun, "For the selection of the Nobel Prize last year, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences and the Nobel Committee invited me to be the final judge. Originally, I didn't plan to participate because it went against the previous election system, and it also conflicted with Mr. Nobel's dying wish. But later, they revealed some information about the candidates to me. Only then did I know that the most popular candidate in this election was a person from Huaxia. Speaking of this, Jane glared at Yin Buin, who was quietly eating his steak. Obviously, this Huaxia person was him. Yang Cheng was a little surprised. Although he knew that Yin Buin was good at scientific research, he didn't know the specifics. He didn't expect that he would even become the most popular candidate for the Nobel Prize selection. He also knew the reason why Jane was invited. One had to know that the Nobel Prize had never been awarded to a scientist from Huaxia nationality. This involved many international, historical, and political issues. Therefore, this was not just an award. Therefore, the Nobel Prize Selection Committee would think of finding a person who could bear the responsibility to make the final decision. There was only one person who could make the world recognize the status of the scientific community and dare not have too many objections: Jane. Jane's position in the scientific community was special. This special thing was that Jane had almost no specific service target. Jane's students were elites from all over the world, and Jane herself would not directly participate in the research of those scientific and technological projects. Of course, this included researching advanced weapons for any country. The reason why countries around the world acquiesced to the existence of a special genius scientist like Jane, but did not try to recruit her into their country, was because Jane had the identity of the heir to the Welsh royal family and would not directly participate in political struggles. Secondly, Jane was also one of the few people who were publicly sheltered by Yang Cheng. Since Jane would not contribute to any country, would not disrupt the world's scientific research forces, and at the same time would cultivate new blood for the scientific and technological progress of various countries, then who would have the leisure to touch her and cause trouble that they could not afford to provoke. Yang Cheng thought of this, but he didn't understand. Did Yin Buin provoke Jane by becoming a candidate? Jane continued. At that time, I knew the intention of the committee. I knew that they had actually decided to let this person, Huaxia, win that year's Nobel Prize, so it was not my decision, it was just me bearing the pressure. In the end, I agreed. Speaking up to this point, Jane paused, picked up the glass, and took a sip of the cold red wine, then said through gritted teeth, "At that time, I announced the results. That year's Medicine Prize and Chemistry Prize were both won by Huaxia's academician, the young academician Yin Buin. But more than an hour after I announced the results, Huaxia suddenly said that academician Yin Buin refused to accept foreign scientific awards. At that time, we asked Huaxia's Academy of Sciences for the reason, and in the end, the response was academician Yin Buin said that his achievements were not for others to judge. When Yang Cheng heard this, he looked at Yin Buin strangely. He did not expect this guy to be so arrogant, but he looked quite honest. Then he smiled and said, "Are you angry about this?" "How can I not be angry? I was originally planning to help the committee bear the pressure and use my reputation to announce that conclusion. In the end, this guy actually responded like this. This is equivalent to making a fool of me in front of the world." Jane was very angry. She drank 2 more mouthfuls of red wine, and her face was red. After eating most of the steak, Yin Buin finally smiled lightly and said, "Princess Jane, it turns out that you are angry about this matter. In fact, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. If I really offended you, then I apologize to you now." With that said, Yin Buin also raised the bottle to Jane and took a big gulp of rum. "Forget it. I can't afford an apology from a great scientist like you," Jane said coldly, too lazy to look at Yin Buin. Yang Cheng smiled and shook his head. At that time, he had just returned to Huaxia, and he did not know about these things that happened. However, with Jane's temper, other things were fine, but someone arrogantly looked down on her in the field of scientific research that she was best at, and it would really make her lose face. One must know that she was the teacher of so many core scientific researchers from all over the world. To lose face in front of so many students, no matter how intelligent Jane was, she was just a young woman. How would she feel good about it? Just like that, the atmosphere was silent for a while. Yang Chun had unknowingly finished the steak on the plate, including the one that Jane didn't have the appetite to eat. Yang Chun looked at Jane, who was still pouting, and said with a smile, "I've finished eating, let's go." Of course, Jane had no objection. Although she felt that the purpose of Yin Buin's visit was not just a gossip, she was too lazy to ask more. Yin Buin saw that Yang Cheng did not intend to talk to him from beginning to end, and finally spoke again. "Mr. Yang, don't you have anything to say to me?" Yang Cheng asked doubtfully. "What do you want to say?" "You hit my idiot brother before," Yin Buin said with narrowed eyes. Yang Cheng slapped his forehead and suddenly realized, "Are you here for revenge?" "Of course not. Since I said he was an idiot, it was naturally not because of Mr. Yang," Yin Buin said disdainfully. "Since it's not for your brother, why are you talking so much nonsense? I don't think your brain is very smart. TSK, you don't even have a point." Yang Cheng frowned and took out his phone to look at the time and said, "Because of you, my lunch with Miss Jane was disturbed. You are very polite if I don't say anything, but you are still talking nonsense to delay time. Don't you know that we are in a hurry to leave? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Or do you think I am easy to bully? Let me tell you, I am not afraid of you in a fight." As he said that, Yang Cheng looked annoyed and pulled his sleeves, looking like he was going to fight. Yin Buin was stunned. Everything was fine just now. Why did this guy look like he was going to fight? Also, when did I have any intention of delaying time? Saying nonsense? You seem to be the one who said it the most. Seeing Yin Buin's blank face, Jane, who was at the side, grinned. She knew that Yang Cheng was so vulgar because he couldn't stand Yin Buin's arrogant look. It was like a high-level intellectual meeting an old farmer in the mountains. No matter how much reason you have, no matter how witty you are, the other party only recognizes the crops and not the words. When a scholar meets a soldier, it is hard to reason with him. Yin Buin, who originally had the initiative, was disrupted by Yang Cheng's sudden change of pace. He was a little annoyed and didn't know how to continue. "I think Mr. Yang misunderstood. I am here today not to talk about my idiot brother. You have already brought it up, and you say you don't want to talk about it." Yang Cheng snorted. Yin Buin was speechless again, but he didn't defend himself. He continued to speak straightforwardly. "I am here today only to say one thing. I did not poison Tang Zhichen." Chapter 580. This was said very seriously, but it was also very abrupt. Yin Buin saw that Yang Cheng didn't speak and said, "Mr. Yang will definitely think that I have no proof. For example, why do I know that Mr. Tang is poisoned? But I can only say that I know it, and I know very well that the poison that needs Princess Jane to come and detoxify in person, in the end, the biggest suspect will definitely be me." "You are so narcissistic. You mean no one is worthy of me to detoxify except you?" Jane said with a smile. "Isn't it?" Yin Buin smiled evilly. "At least you will definitely think of me. But in order to let you take less detours and cause less trouble for myself, I came to inform you. Although I, Yin Buin, am not a gentleman, I will definitely admit what I have done." After saying these words, Yin Buin didn't care whether Yang Cheng and Jane believed him. He turned back and cut the raw beef again, as if he was not afraid of the shadow. After staring at the decadent man in front of him for a while, Yang Cheng didn't speak. He signaled Jane with his eyes and went downstairs. Jane had wanted to leave for a long time. When she walked past Yin Buin's table, she wrinkled her nose. The smell of rum was so disgusting that it could suffocate people to death. How could this monster like to drink this high alcohol that could be used as disinfectant alcohol? After Yang Cheng went downstairs to pay the bill, he took Jane back to the car, started the car, and began to return. Not long after driving, Yang Cheng asked, "Are you hungry? You haven't eaten much. Do you want me to buy you some other snacks?" "I don't have an appetite." Jane looked at the scenery outside the window and shook her head. After a while, she said, "Yang Cheng, do you believe him?" "Believe what?" "I believe that he is not the one who poisoned. In fact, he is indeed the most suspicious, isn't he? Although I don't know the family structure of Huaxia, the person who can invent that new poison is definitely very accomplished in the fields of chemistry and biology. He is very suspicious." Yang Cheng smiled and said, "I didn't say that I believe him. He is indeed very suspicious, and he might have done something else." Jane turned around curiously and asked, "Then why didn't you question him just now? I thought you believed him." With one hand on the steering wheel, Yang Cheng scratched his ear and said, "What did I ask him? Do you think he will tell the truth? Besides, I don't have any evidence, and he didn't provoke me directly. Whether he's the murderer or not, we'll know when the time comes." Jane rolled her eyes cutely, apparently helpless with Yang Cheng's indifference. Half an hour later, the two returned to the sanatorium. As soon as they got out of the car, they saw two familiar figures walking toward them from the other side of the parking lot. Yang Cheng took a closer look. One of the women was wearing a gray studio coat. She had a slender figure and was well-dressed. It was Tang Wan, whom he hadn't seen in the morning. Beside Tang Wan, there was a frivolous smile on the corner of his mouth. It was her cousin, Tang Huang, who was competing with her for the position of the head of the Tang family. Logically speaking, the two of them could be said to occupy half of the family, and they were as incompatible as fire and water. However, at this moment, it seemed that they had a good relationship as they walked peacefully into the sanatorium. A gentle smile appeared on Tang Wan's face when she saw Yang Cheng and Jane. Perhaps it was because of Grandfather Tang's recovery, but Tang Wan looked refreshed at this moment. The charm of a mature and beautiful woman was on full display. "Out for dinner?" Tang Wan looked between Yang Cheng and Jane. There was obviously another layer of meaning behind it. Yang Cheng said he wanted to thank me. Jane said first. Tang Wan asked curiously, "Is that so? What did he buy for Miss Jane?" Jane said resentfully, "He said that when Sister Tang gives him a gift, he will give it to me." As soon as this was said, Tang Huang laughed out loud. "Mr. Yang is really generous." "I'm ashamed, huh?" Yang Cheng glanced at Jane. It seemed that Jane and Tang Wan had a good relationship these few days. She even called her sister. However, there was no need to reveal his slip of the tongue the moment they met. Yang Cheng did not argue with Jane. Instead, he asked, "Are you here to see Old Master Tang?" Tang Wan pursed her lips and nodded with a smile. "We just finished a board meeting and bumped into Tang Huang, who wanted to see Grandfather, so we came together." "Mr. Yang, I have underestimated you. It seems that you are quite capable. Since you were able to cure my grandfather, I, Tang Huang, owe you a favor." Tang Huang actually took the initiative to extend his hand to shake Yang Cheng's. Yang Cheng did not mind Tang Huang's sarcasm when they met previously. He smiled and shook hands with him. "The person who cured Old Master Tang was my friend Jane. But without you, we would not have been able to invite Miss Jane," Tang Huang said straightforwardly. Yang Cheng did not say much. His evaluation of Tang Huang changed a little. It seemed that although this guy spoke frivolously, he really had deep feelings for Old Master Tang. Based on Yang Cheng's perception, Tang Huang was sincerely thanking him. Everyone chatted as they walked back to the courtyard where Old Master Tang was. As soon as they reached the courtyard, they saw an expressionless Hanya coming out to greet them. She said softly, "Old Master Tang has already taken an afternoon nap." This time, no one went in to disturb him. Tang Huang said, "Since Grandfather is asleep, I will leave first. I will visit Grandfather at night. However, sister, when do you plan to send Grandfather back to Beijing? The family cannot be without a leader. If this continues, the headquarters in Beijing will be in chaos." Tang Wan said lightly, "Once Miss Jane has figured out the route of transmission of this poison, Grandfather can go back to Beijing without worry. However, you're more familiar with Beijing than I am. If Grandfather is plotted against again, I will not let you off." Tang Wan's tone was a little cold towards the end of her sentence. "Look at you, sister. I already told you that I will not be in Beijing for long, yet you insist on pushing the responsibility onto me. Fine, fine, fine. If anything happens to Grandfather, I will take the initiative to step down and let you be the head of the household. This is not about being the head of the household. It is about Grandfather's safety," Tang Wan said unhappily. "Whatever you say. I will return to Beijing tomorrow and wait for sister's good news." Tang Huang shook his head and sighed. He immediately left with his entourage. After Tang Huang left, Jane stretched her body and glanced at Yang Cheng and Tang Wan. She said, "I will return to the laboratory to continue my research and try to confirm the route of transmission as soon as possible. You two have not seen each other for so many days. You must have a lot to say to each other. I will not disturb you two." Tang Wan blushed at Jane's words. Although she already had a daughter, Tang Wan had never been in a serious relationship. On the other hand, Yang Chung looked indifferent. He was used to being thick-skinned. After Jane left, Hanya suddenly walked forward and bowed slightly to Yang Chung. She asked softly, "Master, old Master Tang's condition has improved. May I know if I should continue to stay in Zhonghai or follow old Master Tang to Beijing?" Hearing Hanya suddenly call Yang Chung master, Tang Wan, who was at the side, was slightly shocked. Why does this woman still treat me as a slave? Could it be that this Japanese woman who looks like a ripe peach is Yang Chen's personal plaything? As soon as this thought appeared, Tang Wan frowned. She glanced at Yang Chung with her beautiful eyes. She felt that this man was extremely detestable. Why does he have all kinds of women? Yang Chung did not know that Tang Wan had thought so much. He frowned and asked, "Did Jane give you any instructions?" Hanya shook her head. "Miss Jane said that I should listen to Master this time." Yang Chung understood that Jane still had a sense of propriety. Although she would mobilize the forces in Yang Cheng's hands, she did not want to go overboard. Hanya and Yamada sect were Yang Cheng's forces. At the end of the day, they still had to listen to Yang Cheng's command. She could not always use them as her own resources. Yang Cheng thought about it and said, "When this mission is over, you will return to Japan. I will hand over the task of protecting old Master Tang to the Sea Eagles. Yamada sect has a lot of things to do. You can't always stay in Huaxia." When Hanya heard this, there was a trace of disappointment in her eyes. In her opinion, if she could become Yang Cheng's woman, it would be the real guarantee of her position. However, Yang Cheng had never had that kind of thought about her, which made her feel helpless. In fact, if she really stood in front of Yang Cheng naked, Yang Cheng might not be able to stop himself from doing something to Hanya. However, the problem was that Yang Cheng was now entangled with emotional problems. How could he have sex with a Japanese woman for no reason? Tang Wan listened to the conversation between the two and felt confused. The Tang family was mainly engaged in business. Tang Wan did not understand the words Yamada sect and Sea Eagles. She only knew that this woman, who looked like Jane's assistant, should not have a simple background. However, Yang Chung actually talked about these topics in front of her. Obviously, he did not treat her as an outsider. This made Tang Wan's heart sweet and touched. After Hanya left, Tang Wan asked softly, "Do you have time in the afternoon?" Originally, Yang Chung planned to go to the training base to see Choi Yun. When he saw Tang Wan looking at him tenderly, his heart was beating fast. He did not have any thoughts about Hanya, but it did not mean that he did not have any thoughts about Tang Wan. It was true that his cultivation was high, and according to Jane, the problem in his mind must have been cured. However, the problem was that the sequela of his lack of resistance to women seemed to have not changed much. Perhaps, even Yang Chung himself was unclear whether his restless heart was so naughty in the first place or because of the influence of the divine light. In short, Yang Chung nodded directly and asked with an evil smile, "I have time. Why? Do you want to give me a thank you?" Chapter 581. He placed extra emphasis on the word "thank you" so much so that one could definitely hear the underlying meaning behind it. Tang Wan looked at Yang Cheng's mischievous smile and immediately understood what Yang Cheng meant by thank you. However, Grandfather Tang was indeed cured thanks to him, and she really liked this man. She was no longer a shy little girl and liked to express her feelings directly. She blushed and said, "Could it be that you want to do something here? If you don't mind," Yang Cheng said calmly as he smoothly wrapped his arm around Tang Wan's slender waist. Tang Wan hurriedly reached out to stop Yang Cheng's perverted hand and rolled her eyes at him. "Why are you in such a hurry? What if someone walks over here? Do you want the people below to laugh at me? You were the one who asked me if I wanted to do something first." Yang Cheng innocently retracted his hand. Tang Wan was speechless. He couldn't just ignore the situation. She really didn't know how this guy managed to be so thick-skinned. Tang Wan signaled to Yang Cheng with her eyes and said, "Come, let's go to the garden at the back and take a walk with me. We haven't chatted in a long time." Yang Cheng naturally had no objections. He followed Tang Wan through the quiet corridor and arrived at the garden at the back of the nursing home. For a woman like Tang Wan, most of the time, What she lacked was intimate communication. When men talked about love, it was usually more about physical intimacy. When women talked about love, it was usually about the feelings of the soul. Yang Cheng wasn't very clear about this. He only felt that Tang Wan would definitely ask him to do something if he went to a place with fewer people. From this aspect, his animal nature was really straightforward. However, when Yang Cheng entered the garden, the fire in his heart cooled down. The sun shone brightly and a cool breeze blew gently. Walking on the tree-lined path, there were exquisite flower beds made of granite on both sides. The colorful flowers were eye-catching and fragrant. Yang Cheng suddenly felt that his heart was exceptionally calm. Even if Tang Wan was still as tender and alluring as a ripe honey peach, he didn't have too much thought to take advantage of her. After he calmed down, his mind was filled with mixed feelings. He thought of Lin Ruoxi's changes, of Mo Chin's nervousness, of Ma Guifeng's unpredictability, and of how he should explain to his other women, if he had to be responsible for them. How could he give them the happiness they truly needed? Yang Cheng didn't know how to better bear this sweet burden. Tang Wan was also surprised to see that Yang Cheng was looking at the flowers and plants in a daze. There was even a trace of helpless bitterness in his eyes. For a woman of her age, a man's deep thoughts had a perfect sign. It wasn't the vicissitudes that an ordinary young man pretended to have in order to attract an ignorant young girl. It was the profoundness that came from a complicated heart. Looking at Yang Cheng's indifferent profile, Tang Wan's fair hands were intertwined together. Her face was flushed, and her heartbeat involuntarily quickened. Was this the man she had fallen in love with? He was still so young, but why did he reveal such a mature charm that made one's heart tremble? After walking for a while, Yang Cheng felt a headache coming on. Lin Ruoxi had undoubtedly given him a huge problem. In the past, he had always seen this woman deal with others, but now she had used a soft knife against him. However, this knife had cut into his soft spot, and it was truly hard to guard against. With a wry smile, Yang Cheng looked at Tang Wan and said, "I'm sorry, I have something to worry about." "It's nothing, I like seeing you like this." Tang Wan pouted. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows. "Why?" "Because you look a lot more serious." Tang Wan laughed. Yang Cheng was surprised, and then shook his head. "If I say it out loud, you won't think I'm serious anymore. You'll definitely laugh at me. I'm not afraid to tell you. I've been thinking about how I should give my women a perfect explanation." Tang Wan was stunned for a moment, and then she said sourly, "Women, don't you think it's very hurtful to say such words in front of me?" "What's so hurtful about that?" Yang Cheng laughed and said, "I'm really having a splitting headache because of that lord at home. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself from thinking about you." Tang Wan asked curiously, "The one in your family? You mean Lin Ruoxi? Did she have a cold war with you again?" Yang Cheng was depressed. How did Tang Wan know that Sister Lin often had a cold war with him? However, it wasn't strange. After all, Tang Wan, Yuan Yi, Tang Tang, and even the Yuan couple had a close relationship. The fact that he didn't get along with Lin Ruoxi was something that others could easily figure out. Yang Cheng could only brace himself and say, "You're also a woman. Why don't you give me some ideas? I'm being suppressed by her right now, so I have to think of a way to turn things around. Otherwise, I'll become a completely oppressed slave in this family. Of course, this is also so that we can take a step further and have less to worry about." After all, Tang Wan had a lot of life experience, so Yang Cheng felt that it wouldn't be a bad idea to ask her to be his advisor. Tang Wan felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. "When did you become so obedient? In the past, I saw you fooling around everywhere and didn't care about your real wife at home. What kind of trap did she set for you?" Yang Cheng sighed and found a place to pull Tang Wan to sit down. He then roughly told her about the pressure that Lin Ruoxi had put on him, and even told her about how she wanted him to cut off all other relationships. "Right now, in my mother's eyes, this daughter-in-law is perfect. If I let her see other women, I think it'll be difficult." Yang Cheng frowned in distress. After listening to this, Tang Wan couldn't help but giggle. As she trembled, the two plump lumps on her chest also undulated, which was very eye-catching. "What are you laughing at?" Yangqing asked without much confidence. Tang Wan held back her laughter with great difficulty and said, "Let me ask you a few questions. Answer them truthfully." "What questions?" Yangqing didn't know what Tang Wan wanted to do. "The first question, did you give your wife flowers?" Tang Wan asked. "No." Yangqing directly shook his head and said, "But I did give flowers to my mother-in-law." Tang Wan rolled her eyes at him and asked, "Did you give Lin Ruoshi jewelry, like a diamond ring or something?" "Diamond ring? She's so rich. Why would she give her a diamond ring? I think it's more like giving her a diamond mine." Yangqing smiled and waved his hand, indicating that he didn't. Tang Wan shook her head, sighed, and asked, "Do you know what Lin Ruoshi likes to eat?" Yangqing frowned, thought for a moment, and said, "I know she likes to eat glutinous rice balls. I even bought glutinous rice balls for her to eat. That girl even waited for me to leave and ate it with her back to me, and I bumped into her. At that time, she was so embarrassed, huh? I'm talking about dishes, not snacks." Tang Wan glanced at him and asked, "Do you know anything about Lin Ruoshi's past?" "Past? You mean her parents passed away, or something?" Yangqing asked. "No." Tang Wan said, "Do you know where Lin Ruoshi went to school, what she did when she was young, where she went to university, and what life was like at that time? Also, do you know what interests Lin Ruoshi has? Do you know what she hates and likes? For example, color, style of clothes, sports, art genre, music style, and so on. Do you know what she likes?" Yangqing was stunned and shook his head in confusion. "How would I know?" This time, Tang Wan let out another long sigh, rolled her eyes, and said, "Look at your silly look. I know you don't understand anything." "Don't understand what?" Yangqing was puzzled, and his mind was blocked. Tang Wan slowly said, "Why do you think men and women have to fall in love before getting married?" "Of course it's to understand and see if it's suitable." Yangqing said. "That's right. You and Lin Ruoshi got married so hastily. You're not in love at all. Maybe you think that it's enough to get to know her in life. But even if I'm not familiar with Lin Ruoshi, I know that she's a famous cold beauty. How could she open her heart to you and tell you everything? Moreover, it would be strange if she was willing to talk to a playboy like you. Seeing you with another woman, it's already rare that she didn't divorce you." Tang Wan stared at Yangqing and continued, "You don't understand her, and you don't have any emotional foundation. Even if she fell in love with you because you're extraordinary or because you did something, it doesn't mean that you've conquered her. For a proud woman like her, and a woman with all the advantages, why should she yield to another woman and share a man with her for no reason?" Yangqing was stunned. To be honest, he also didn't know why. Tang Wan looked at Yangqing as if she was looking at an idiot. After a moment of helplessness, she said, "You don't understand anything. What you need to do now is not to make her yield to you and not to make her lose to you. Instead, you need to make her understand that she can't live without you and that she's willing to sacrifice for you. You need to make her feel that she's the most important person in your heart. You need to prove it to her. Do you understand?" Yangqing was stunned by Tang Wan's words. After a long time, he asked blankly, "How do I prove it? Are you a pig brain or not?" Tang Wan couldn't help but blurt out. Yangqing swallowed his saliva. This gentle and elegant woman had scared him quite a bit when she flew into a rage. Tang Wan gritted her teeth and said, "I've said so much just to tell you. Other than proving that you're an outstanding man, you haven't proved to Lin Ruoshi how important she is in your heart, because you don't know her well enough. You don't care about her and everything around her, her past, her thoughts, her hobbies. You've been a male chauvinist for too long. You think that women should revolve around you, and you don't seem to care about women's matters. You think that it's fine as long as you love each other. In fact, this is just your shallow understanding. Do you think that we women are as casual as you? Even the most ordinary young people will give red roses when they fall in love. You don't even give the most ordinary bouquet of flowers or a wedding ring to Lin Ruoshi. How can she believe that you treat her as your only wife? Don't think that Lin Ruoshi doesn't care about these things just because she's rich. Don't think that she's like a goddess and doesn't care about these trivial things that these little girls care about. Will there be a woman who will buy a wedding ring for herself? Will there be a woman who will buy a red rose for herself? Lin Ruoshi doesn't lack these things, and many men are even willing to give her these things. But are those men the same as you? Will they feel the same as you? The husband give her the same feeling? It's because in her daily life, these things seem to be out of her reach. That's why she hopes that her man can bring her an ordinary, simple, but reliable life. Don't tell me you still don't understand what I'm saying? Yang Chung stared blankly at the blushing Tang Wan. His mind was in turmoil, and it was as if a dazzling ray of sunlight had shone down, making him suddenly see the light. That's right. Why did he always think about how to make Lin Ruoshi obey him, and not think about how to influence Lin Ruoshi? Why did he have to make his woman change for him, and not give more for his woman? He didn't even know what color his wife liked, and what kind of dishes she liked, so why did she agree to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Yang Chung, you're just like what Tang Wan said, a pig head. You have to be good enough to her, so good that she can't reject you, and not force her to put down her dignity. Do you understand? Tang Wan was still worried that Yang Chung wouldn't understand, so she said earnestly. Yang Chung frowned, raised his head, and stared at Tang Wan, and said, Tang Wan, what should I do? After hearing what you said, I suddenly want to do it with you here. Tang Wan almost couldn't wrap her head around it. She couldn't figure out what do it meant. When she came to her senses, she slapped Yang Cheng's shoulder in embarrassment. You really can't change your ways. I'm talking to you about the main topic, and you're thinking about that again. No wonder Lin Ruoshi wants to give you a strong medicine. Hee. Yang Chung grabbed Tang Wan's warm and soft wrist and said with a smile, Your words have enlightened me. I find you more and more pleasing to the eye, and the more I look at you, the cuter you become. As expected, a mature woman is different. I don't think anyone will come here, so why don't you give in to me now? After saying that, Yang Chung pulled Tang Wan's soft body in front of him, and his other hand wrapped around Tang Wan's slender waist, and the two of their bodies pressed together. Tang Wan cried out in surprise, and in the next second, she came face to face with the man. Looking at the face that was getting closer and closer, Tang Wan shyly closed her eyes, and her body went limp, and she didn't have the strength to struggle. His troubles were solved by Tang Wan's words, and with a warm and fragrant body in his arms, how could Yangqing care about anything else? One of his hands very dishonestly slid to Tang Wan's perky buttocks, and he enjoyed touching them, while kissing Tang Wan's red lips. An unusual and charming blush blossomed on Tang Wan's pretty face, and for a moment, the two of them were like water and milk, entwined together and kissed passionately. Tang Wan was at an age where it was easy to be aroused, and not long after, her eyes became misty, and she almost forgot where she was. Her enchanting body melted into Yang Cheng's arms like a pool of spring water. However, the remaining rationality still made Tang Wan push against Yang Cheng's chest, and she panted, Don't be like this. We can't do it here. Yang Cheng didn't intend to do anything to Tang Wan in this garden, but he still tried to scare her with a naughty smile. Why not? Don't worry. If someone really comes, I'll definitely feel in advance. If someone really comes, then it'll be too late, Tang Wan said softly with a hint of pleading. Who knew? Just as she finished speaking, a clear female voice came from the entrance of the garden. Mom, where are you and Uncle? Chapter 582. Hearing this, not only Tang Wan, but Yang Cheng's heart also trembled. This voice, this way of addressing, who else could it be but Tang Tang? Tong Tong's sudden arrival really scared Tang Wan quite a bit. She quickly struggled out of Yang Cheng's embrace and tidied up her messy clothes and bangs. But how could the passionate blush on her face disappear? It's all your fault. You're so careless. I'm going to die of embarrassment. As a mother, Tang Wan always tried her best to maintain a bit of dignity in front of Tang Tang, but now she was really sullen. Yang Cheng smiled indifferently. He didn't mind being seen by Tang Tang. Sometimes having a thick skin could save him a lot of trouble. Sure enough, in the blink of an eye, Tang Tang, who was wearing a yellow shirt and white lace shorts, ran out from a corner. The high school girl with a ponytail was still as youthful as ever. When she saw Yang Cheng and Tang Wan standing together, Tang Tang revealed a sly smile. She put her hands behind her back and skipped over to her mother's slightly blushing face, asking softly, "Mom, did I disturb you guys?" Tang Wan coughed and glared at her daughter. "How impudent! What nonsense are you talking about? Let me ask you, didn't I tell you to study at home? Why did you come here? I remember that you're not allowed to use the car in the garage." "I didn't drive." Tang Tang pouted and said, "Brother Yuan Yi drove me here." "Yuan Yi?" Tang Wan was stunned and frowned. "He really listens to you." As they spoke, Yuan Yi, who came with Tang Tang, also ran in from outside. Seeing that Yang Cheng was also there, Yuan Yi revealed a happy smile. He recently found out from his parents that Yang Cheng was actually his aunt's biological son that had been lost for more than 20 years. Although Yuan Yi was shocked by this news, he was even more ecstatic. He had seen Yang Cheng's ferocity many times, and he had always treated him like an older brother. Now that they were related by blood, they were cousins. If it wasn't for his parents telling him not to disturb Yang Cheng, he would have wanted to be next-door neighbors with Yang Cheng. However, before Yuan Yi could greet her, Tang Wan berated him. "Yuan Yi, how many times have I told you not to fool around with Tang Tang? Tell her to stay at home and study. Why did you bring her here?" Yuan Ye's legs immediately went soft, and he said with a fawning smile, "Auntie Tang Dang, it's Tang Tang who said she wants to see Grandpa. I think Grandpa Tang has recovered and will return to Beijing in a few days. Before he goes back, it's only right for us juniors to visit him." "That's right, Mom. If it wasn't for Great-Grandpa suppressing those bad people and protecting us, would I have the chance to live to this age? You didn't let me come when Great-Grandpa was sick, and now that he's recovered, you don't let me come often. If Great-Grandpa doesn't know the inside story, he will think that I, Tang Tang, don't respect him." Tang Tang pulled Tang Wan's hand and said coquettishly. Tang Wan snorted, "You have so many tricks up your sleeve, but you still found a chance to run away. Seeing that you're still filial, I'll let it go this time. If you don't listen to me next time, I'll lock you in the room." Tang Tang nodded with a wronged expression, while Yuan Ye's face turned pale. This future mother-in-law was too ruthless, and he had to be careful. On the other hand, Yang Cheng was gratified to see Tang Tang being so obedient in front of Tang Wan. This last used to be rebellious, but now she had grown up. He didn't know if it was because he was on the same level as Tang Wan. In the past, Tang Tang was just a little sister, but now he seemed to have become her elder. Yawning, Yang Cheng lazily said, "Since you guys are going to see Grandfather Tang, I won't disturb your family anymore. I still have other places to go." Seeing that Yang Cheng was about to leave, Tang Wan was a little reluctant, but it wasn't the time to ask him to stay, so she could only nod her head. However, Yuan Yi suddenly caught up to Yang Cheng and said with a smile, "Cousin Yang Cheng, there's something I want to talk to you about." Yang Cheng felt a little awkward hearing Yuan Yi call him cousin. He knew that his relationship with the Yang family was definitely known by many people. Since he was the cousin of the Yuan family's young master, they must have known about him for a long time, so he could only let him be and said, "What is it?" "This. Let's talk outside," Yuan Yi said with a smile. Yang Cheng was stunned. Why did he have to avoid Tang Wan and her mother? He couldn't help but feel curious, so he nodded and followed Yuan Yi out of the garden. This made Tang Tang pout unhappily. She didn't find it strange that Yuan Yi called Yang Cheng cousin. There was no reason for Yuan Yi to hide this from her. However, Tang Tang was very open-minded. Whether Yang Cheng was her cousin or not, he was still her uncle. At this moment, she said sourly, "Brother Yuan Yi, why do you have to avoid us when you're talking to uncle? We're all on the same side, what's there to hide?" When Tang Wan heard Yuan Yi call Yang Cheng cousin, a trace of helplessness and clarity flashed through her beautiful eyes. Actually, she already knew from Yang Jiyu that Yang Cheng was the eldest grandson of the Yang family. Moreover, this wasn't a secret among the big families in Beijing. The reason why she didn't mention or ask about it in front of Yang Cheng was because she was very clear that Yang Cheng definitely didn't like this identity. Moreover, Yang Pejuan and Yang Lai were unhappy with Yang Cheng, and Guixuohua was separated from her husband. She had also heard about it. Yang Cheng definitely had a headache about the Yang family, so she didn't want to add to Yang Cheng's troubles. Thinking about how she introduced the past of the Yang family, to Yang Chung in front of him, saying that she had a good impression of the Yang family, etc. Tang Wan felt that everything was arranged by the heavens. At this moment, looking at her daughter's unhappy face, Tang Wan smiled and shook her head. Some words are for men to say to men. You're a girl. Don't make things difficult for Yuan Yi. He's only doing it for your own good. In the future, when you and Yuan Yi get married and live together, there will be many situations like this. Tang Dang blushed and said shyly, Mom, seriously? What marriage? I haven't even gone to university. Humph, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Little devil, you better leave me as soon as possible. I'll throw you to the Yuan family so that I won't have to worry too much. It'll be best if your Annie Yang becomes an evil mother-in-law and takes care of you for me. Tang Wan joked with her daughter. Tang Dang said angrily, I know, Mom. You must think that I'm a hindrance by your side, so you want to throw me away and be sweet with Uncle, right? Tang Wan's heart trembled and stopped Tang Dang from talking. Nonsense. Yang Chung has a wife. I know, Sister Lin. I even met Sister Lin when I went to pay my New Year's greetings with you and Yaji. We went to karaoke together. Although Sister Lin is pretty, my mom isn't bad either. Uncle is a big pervert. He'll definitely fall for Mom's skirt. Tang Tang had an encouraging expression on her face, and her eyes shone brightly. Tang Wan's heart skipped a beat. When she heard Tang Tang call Yang Chung uncle, she was quite happy because this put Yang Chung in the same generation as her. But this was a little self-deceiving, because to be honest, Yang Chung was in the same generation as Yuan Yi, which meant that he was one generation younger than her. In the end, once Yang Chung was confirmed to be the eldest grandson of the Yang family, it didn't matter if he was with her. Right at this moment, Tang Dang suddenly stretched out her hands and hugged Tang Wan's slender waist tightly. Because she was a head shorter than her mother, Tong Tong's head was directly pressed against Tang Wan's soft chest. Tang Wan was stunned, then smiled gently and helplessly. Girl, are you crazy again? You're already so big. Do you still want to drink milk? How embarrassing. Tang Tang, on the other hand, muttered, Mom, I won't call you sister anymore. Tang Wan was puzzled, not understanding what Tang Tang was trying to say. I know, Mom. You gave birth to me at such a young age, and it must have been hard for you to bring me up alone. I also know that if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have come to Zhonghai from Beijing alone for more than 10 years. I know you've been lonely and cold here all these years, but I was very naughty in the past. I caused trouble for you, and even quarreled with you. I would often run away from home to make you worry, and when something happened, I would ask you to help me clean up the mess. I would also always call you sister, and throw a tantrum and not call you mother. Listening to her daughter's words, Tang Wan's eyes glistened, smiled, and caressed her daughter's back. Silly girl, since I gave birth to you, of course I have to be responsible for you. There's nothing to say. As long as you understand and don't give me any more trouble, it's fine. Mom, if you like Uncle, then be with him. Tang Tang raised her head, her little face full of seriousness. Tang Wan was dumbfounded. She didn't expect the topic to suddenly change to this point. I know, Mom, you like Uncle. I know Uncle is a good man. If it wasn't for Brother Yuan Ye in my heart, I might have fallen in love with Uncle at all costs. So what if Uncle is married? In our so-called big families, there are many men who have multiple wives and concubines. Although the uncle was a pervert, he treated his woman with sincerity. Moreover, he doesn't only have one woman, Sister Lin. Mom, if you're delaying it because you care about me, Tang Tang, have already grown up. I won't call you sister like I did when I was young. I will only call you Mom. You said it yourself. In another 2 years, I'm going to get married too. If you're still alone when I get married, how can I bear to leave you? Even if it's for the sake of your daughter's happiness, Mom, just love boldly. A series of clear and deep words caused Tang Wan's eyes to instantly become misty. Looking at the young face that was so similar to her when she was young, Tang Wan finally understood why being a mother was so blessed. There was nothing more gratifying than the growth of one's children. Is there a daughter who pushes her own mother into the arms of a bad man like you? Also, why don't you call me sister anymore? Do you think your mom is very old? Tang Wan said with a smile with tears in her eyes. Tong Tong's eyes were also a little red. I'm just afraid that you'll always care about me and not fight for your own happiness. Besides, you're not young anymore. Always letting a daughter who's 20 years younger than you call you sister. Don't you feel ashamed? Smelly girl, you're asking for a beating. Tang Wan's tears finally couldn't stop falling, but she still had a happy smile on her face. Her palm fell heavily on Tong Tong's perky buttocks and slapped it a few times. Tang Dang looked like she had accepted her fate. She hugged her mother's waist tightly and stuffed her little head between the two lumps of fat. She mumbled, hit me, that old woman Tang Wan is shameless, telling me to call her sister. Shameless, shameless. The pair of mother and daughter. One spanked the buttocks, the other muttered, crying and laughing at the same time, fighting in the garden. Chapter 583. Yang Cheng walked out of the garden with Yuan Yi. Naturally, he had no idea that the mother and daughter were laughing and crying in the garden. At this moment, Yang Cheng felt that Yuan Yi was getting more and more ridiculous. Wasn't it just because he was his cousin? Did he have to stare at him like he was his lover and smile foolishly? Hey, what are you trying to say? Are you done laughing? Yang Cheng stopped and asked. Yuan Yi scratched the back of his head foolishly. The eldest young master of the Yuan family was no different from a fool at this moment. He said, I really didn't expect Brother Yang to be my biological cousin. It's like a dream. How can I not laugh? Is this why you call me out for a chat? Yang Cheng said gloomily. Of course not. Yuan Yi looked around to make sure there was no one around and said, Brother Chun, you and my mother-in-law, do you have that kind of relationship? What kind of relationship? Yang Cheng pretended to be dead. Is it a relationship between a man and a woman? Yuan Yi asked with a sly smile. Yang Cheng frowned and said, Why do you care? I live my life. You and Tang Tang live yours. Cousin, please don't misunderstand. Yuan Yi hurriedly said with a smile. Of course I don't mind you having an affair with my mother-in-law. I support both of you. What do you mean having an affair? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I'm a decent person. Yang Cheng widened his eyes and said, What a joke. I haven't even had a taste of her yet. How can you slander my innocence? Yuan Yi obviously couldn't stand Yang Cheng's shamelessness. He smiled embarrassedly and said, Cousin, I just wanted to clarify things. No matter what, the seniority is a little messy. If you really have an affair with my mother-in-law, should I call you brother or father-in-law? Father-in-law my ass. You don't have to beat around the bush for such a trivial matter. You can call me whatever you want. Yang Cheng was actually a little guilty. It seemed that addressing Tang Wan was indeed a little troublesome. It seemed that it would take a lot of effort to win her heart. Yuan Yi didn't dare to provoke Yang Cheng. He said sullenly, My mother said that if you really have that kind of relationship with Aunt Tang, it means that the Tang family will be closer to the Yang family. It's good for both families. Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. Is that what your mom told you? That's right. I also feel that it's not wrong. No matter what, the Tang family's business can be considered one of the largest in all of Huaxia. Moreover, Grandfather Tang's health is also better now. These four old families have a deep, hidden heritage. Yuan Yi said with a face full of joy. Yang Cheng rubbed his nose. He thought that Yang Jiu was really bold. He reckoned that the Yuan family's husband and wife were aware of the recent events. In fact, they were secretly connected. Old Master Tang's poisoning, the obstruction of his medical treatment, Lu Min's death, the secret framing, and the Yin family's victory in the election. Yang Cheng's identity wasn't a secret among the higher-ups of the big families in Beijing. At the very least, they knew that Yang Cheng was a member of the Yang family. In this way, the Yang family was actually in a precarious position, as if a storm was brewing. A lot of unfavorable information proved that some people were itching to bring down the Yang family. At such a time, it might save a lot of trouble if they could get the Tang family to support them. Although the Tang family's main business was business, there must be a reason why they could remain as one of the four big families. It was just that they didn't know much about it. It was obvious that Yang Jiu wanted her son to give her a hint when he saw her. No matter what, Yang Jiu was still an elder. She really couldn't bring herself to tell her nephew to hook up with another older woman. What was worse was that the woman was her future in-law. Go in and fawn over your mother-in-law. Stop following me. Yang Chung waved at Yuan Yi. Yuan Yi looked gloomy. Don't, cousin. Why do you keep chasing me away? I still want to ask you for advice on how to make a girl happy. You have quite a lot of women around you. Can you teach me a few tricks? These words were like a knife cutting into Yang Cheng's heart. I still lack tricks. Why are you asking me for advice? Yang Chung glared at him and said, If you don't leave, I'll throw you back. When Yuan Yi saw that Yang Chung was really going to make a move, he was so scared that he took a few steps back. He smiled apologetically and said, Cousin, please calm down. I was just saying, if you don't want to teach me, then forget it. Oh, right. Do you want to play a few rounds of Warcraft tonight? I haven't played in a while. I'm not free. How could Yang Chung be in the mood to play games? He didn't bother to say another word and left the nursing home, leaving Yuan Yi standing there gloomily. He couldn't understand how he made Yang Chung unhappy even if he wanted to die. On the way back, Yang Cheng's mind wasn't idle. He kept thinking about what to give to make Lin Ruoshi happy and how to understand Lin Ruoshi's preferences, hobbies, and her past. However, resolving Lin Ruoshi's attack wasn't something that could be done in a day. Yang Cheng knew that he couldn't rush it. Therefore, Yang Chung still followed his plan and headed to the training base by the sea where Choi Yun was. Previously, he promised Choi Yun that he would go to the Kai family in Beijing to propose marriage. He had to give an explanation and confirm when he was going to leave. However, as soon as Yang Chung arrived at the training base by the sea, he was suddenly informed by the person in charge that Choi Yun was no longer at the base. After the Mad Dragon Special Forces entered the final stage, Choi Yun was supposed to participate in the final combat assessment. This was also what Choi Yun had asked Yang Chung for permission in the beginning. However, she didn't expect that something that Yang Chung had done would cause Choi Yun to be unable to complete the combat assessment. Yang Chung had killed the Zhonghai West Bureau chief, Chief Liu. Originally, Kai Yinqing didn't intend to let his daughter join the dragon team. Moreover, Choi Yun had promised Yang Chung that she wouldn't join the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. Therefore, it was only natural that the position of the Zhonghai police chief would be left to Choi Yun after the special training. Logically speaking, Choi Yun's reinstatement would take at least a month. However, no one would have thought that the temporary chief Liu would be killed by Yang Chung, who had just returned to the country. After the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade handled the matter, it didn't cause too much of a commotion. However, the police station couldn't be without a chief. Since he couldn't find a suitable and willing person, Kai Yunqing could only beg his daughter, Choi Yun, not to participate in the combat assessment and quickly return to the police station. Only when Choi Yun, who was already Yang Cheng's woman, became the chief would Yang Chung not get into trouble. Once he got angry, he would cause a scene in the police station. Yang Chung felt embarrassed to face Choi Yun. He had promised her that he would let her complete the special training, but now it seemed like he was going back on his word. Choi Yun had already been reinstated, but she didn't call him. It was very likely that she was angry at him. Yang Chung pondered for a while and decided to make a trip to the police station to explain things to Kai Yin. Therefore, after driving for another half an hour, Yang Chung arrived at the police station that he had caused a scene 2 days ago. As soon as he got out of the car and walked towards the entrance of the police station, the two policemen guarding the entrance tensed up as if they were facing a formidable enemy. They looked at Yang Chung with fear. Seeing that their hands were already reaching for their guns, Yang Chung couldn't help but smile bitterly. What are you guys afraid of? I'm here to look for Chief Kai. Is she inside? The chief. The chief went out to arrest the criminal. One of the policemen stuttered. Yang Chung frowned. This woman really didn't stay idle. When he first met her, he knew that she was a hot-tempered policewoman. She had just been reinstated, and she went to cause trouble again. When will she be back? Yang Chung asked. The policeman was about to answer when he saw something in the distance. He quickly said, "The chief is back." Yang Chung turned around and saw 3 police cars driving into the parking lot from the side of the road. They stopped at the entrance of the police station. After the car door opened, Choi Yun, who was wearing a light green police uniform and had her hair cut short, got out of the front passenger seat of the car in front. Choi Yun, who had put on her police uniform again, was much more valiant than before. She had curves in all the right places, and there was a hint of a mature woman's charm between her brows. It made her exquisite facial features especially attractive. For some reason, when Yang Chung saw Choi Yun like this, his heart was burning. Not to mention anything else, Choi Yun was wearing a police uniform again. If he were to be intimate with her in the future, wouldn't it be ecstatic to see her wearing a police uniform? And when Choi Yun got out of the car, she raised her head and saw Yang Chung standing at the entrance of the police station. Seeing the man who was inexplicably smiling at her, Choi Yun didn't have a good expression on her face. She snorted and glanced at Yang Chung. She couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. She said to the accompanying police officers, "Bring them back to the station. I want to interrogate them personally." "Yes, Chief." The police officers were also very motivated. For example, Choi Yun's prestige was quite high. As soon as she came back, they were full of energy. 4 or 5 police officers worked together and pulled out the criminals that were being roasted in the car. There were 6 of them. 5 of them were burly men dressed in vulgar clothes, and the last one was a middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses. He looked like a refined middle-aged man. When the white-faced man was brought out of the car by the police officers, he frowned in displeasure. A trace of gloominess flashed across his face. With a somewhat magnetic voice, he said to Choi Yun, "Chief Kai, if you continue to make a move on me, I, Gao Yu of the Azure Dragon Gang, will not be a useless soldier. Wait for my lawyer to come. Violent law enforcement is a criminal responsibility. Don't play this game with me. The evidence is conclusive. Even 100 lawyers won't be able to save you." Choi Yun coldly snorted in disdain. With a wave of her hand, the man named Gao Yu and his 5 subordinates were pushed into the police station. Yang Chung stood at the door in a daze. What did this guy just say? Azure Dragon Gang? Wasn't that the gang that Lu Mingyu's father, Lu Qingshan, was in partnership with Xiangwei? Chapter 584. Before Yang Chung could think about the relationship between the two, Choi Yun had already ordered several officers to escort Gao Yu and the others into the police station. When Choi Yun walked past Yang Chung, it was as if she hadn't seen Yang Chung at all. She directly ignored him and didn't even greet him. Yang Chung smiled bitterly. It seemed like this woman was really angry, but it was only right for her to be angry. Choi Yun had always regarded being a police officer as an honorable profession, so it was natural for her to be punished according to the law. In Choi Yun's heart, even if he was the man she loved, she wouldn't be too happy to accept him. Yang Chung wasn't in a hurry either. He followed Choi Yun all the way into the police station. On the way, some of the officers who recognized Yang Chung revealed a look of panic, as if they had seen some kind of terrorist and avoided him. Such a scene fell into Choi Yun's eyes, and she couldn't help but grit her teeth and glare at Yang Chung. Yang Chung helplessly spread his hands at her. He looked so harmless, and it wasn't like he was a fiend. The problem was that her subordinates were too timid. Apart from the pale-faced, middle-aged man named Gao Yu, the other 5 Green Dragon Society thugs were brought to the big office outside for interrogation. As for the arrogant Gao Yu, he was sent to a separate interrogation room. Seeing Choi Yun enter the interrogation room, Yang Chung hurriedly followed. When the officer who closed the door saw that Yang Chung wanted to enter, he didn't even think of stopping him. Choi Yun was speechless again. Finally, she turned around and blocked Yang Chung at the door. She angrily asked in a low voice, "Why are you always following me? I'm working." Yang Chung smiled apologetically and said, "You do what you need to do. It's just that I haven't seen you for a few days, and I miss you quite a bit." Hearing the man say that he missed her, Choi Yun, who had not tasted the taste of love, was naturally happy. Even if his kind of words sounded a lot fake, Choi Yun still felt a lot better. Choi Yun rolled her eyes at Yang Chung and said in a gentler tone, "Don't think that I'm so gullible. Why didn't you miss me when you came back 2 days ago? If it weren't for your help, it would have taken me almost 2 months to get back to work." Yang Chung, of course, knew that he was being sarcastic, but he went along with it and said with a smile, "You don't have to thank me. I just felt that you were having a hard time training there, so I always wanted you to come back earlier. Look at you. You look much prettier in this uniform than when you were at the base. I'm almost drooling just looking at you. You? How can you be so shameless?" Choi Yun really couldn't stand Yang Cheng's shamelessness. That lecherous gaze was as if she was naked. "If I wasn't shameless, Would I dare to look for you like this? Yang Chung Shan smiled and said, All right, Yonyan, Chief Kai, I promise you that I won't casually kill police officers in the future. Even if I want to kill you, I'll let you know in advance. It wasn't easy for us to get to where we are today. Are you going to ruin our relationship because of that idiot? Choi Yun's charming face slightly blushed. Fortunately, no police officers standing at the side saw it. She said angrily, Can't you let me be less worried? Do you know that because of you, my sister is having a hard time in Beijing now? Your sister? Yang Chung was stunned. How did this have anything to do with Kai Ning? Choi Yun seemed to realize that she had let something slip. She shook her head and said, Oh, it's nothing. Didn't my sister keep an eye on you in the past? She was very tired when you caused trouble. Don't think too much about it. Hurry up and get out. I need to interrogate the criminal. How could Yang Chung be so easily fooled? Moreover, Choi Yun had a straightforward personality and naturally didn't know how to hide it. Thus, with a slightly serious expression, he asked, What happened to your sister? I thought it was strange before. Why didn't she come back after returning to Beijing? You said that what I did affected your sister? Was it because your sister took the blame for me killing Zheng Mao last time? Did she receive some punishment? Choi Yun's pretty face turned pale. She lowered her head as if she was struggling. In the end, she said faintly, My sister originally told me not to let you know, but I think you will know sooner or later. But I have to work now. Can we talk about it after work? I will definitely tell you. The more Yang Chung thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Kai Ning actually wanted Choi Yun to hide it from him. Previously, he had wanted to ask Kai Yunqing about it, but he was delayed by a phone call from Zhao Tong. After that, he didn't think about it. Now, it seemed that Kai Ning had encountered something troublesome. The night before Kai Ning left Zhonghai appeared in his mind. The scene of her looking at the night sky on the bridge while the cold wind blew against her. Now that he thought about it, he couldn't help but miss that cold and elegant figure. Yang Chung thought for a moment and pointed at Gao Yu, who was sitting there impatiently. He asked, What did that guy do? Although Choi Yun didn't know why Yang Chung was asking about it, she still explained, His name is Gao Yu. I heard that he's the head of a new big gang in Zhonghai called the Green Dragon Society. He could be considered the leader of the Green Dragon Society in Zhonghai. Originally, the Red Thorn Society was the only big gang in Zhonghai, and the Red Thorn Society didn't have any problems with the police. But ever since this Gao Yu represented the Green Dragon Society and the Red Thorn Society, he has been crossing the line. I just came back to work yesterday, and today I received a tip-off. He recently opened a nightclub and forced no less than 30 young female university students to sell sex. He even used drugs to control them. A few of the girls wanted to report him, but he secretly killed them. He's worse than a beast. Yang Chung frowned. He knew very well that Xiang Wei would never allow such a shady business under the Red Thorn Society. It must be the Green Dragon Society. Also, it was very likely that this Gao Yu was greedy and had lost his conscience. As for this kind of scourge, it couldn't be a new one. In the past, even if Director Liu received the tip-off, he wouldn't have dared to touch the Green Dragon Society. But now that Choi Yun was back, this fearless woman only wanted to uphold justice, so she went to arrest Gao Yu without hesitation. According to the criminal law, how will this guy be sentenced? Yang Chung asked. If he is sentenced, according to our Huaxia's criminal law, he will be confiscated of his property and imprisoned for 1 to 2 years. If we can find out that he harmed the female students, we can even sentence him to death. However, an experienced gang leader like him should have many scapegoats. It will be very difficult to kill him. Choi Yun said indignantly. Yang Chung nodded. He roughly understood the situation and slowly walked towards the arrogant Gao Yu. Gao Yu was very unhappy. He didn't know Yang Chung. He only saw Yang Chung whispering something with that stupid female director and didn't interrogate him. It was as if he didn't take him seriously at all. At this moment, he saw Yang Chung walking towards him expressionlessly and said with a face full of mockery, Young man, your methods are not bad. You even managed to get a thorny wild rose like Director Kai. You don't look like a pretty boy. Could it be that you have some kind of ability? Yang Chung didn't say anything. He walked forward and without saying anything, he slapped Gao Yu's left cheek. Pa! A crisp sound was heard. Gao Yu was directly slapped from the chair to the ground. He even rolled on the ground. Gao Yu's glasses fell to the ground. He only felt a sweet, fishy taste at the corner of his mouth and a swelling sensation on his left cheek. Only then did he realize that he was actually hit, and he didn't even know how he was hit. Gao Yu, who was seeing stars, put on his glasses and stood up shakily. He pointed at Yang Cheng, and his face darkened. He said coldly, "You dare to hit me? Brat, do you know who I am?" Choi Yun, who was at the door, also didn't expect Yang Cheng to hit him the moment he went up. Although it was very satisfying, this was a police station after all. Therefore, she still walked forward and said softly, "Yang Cheng, leave it to me. I won't let him get away so easily." Yang Cheng shook his head and said, "This guy isn't worth your time. I'll help you deal with him. You better tell me what happened to your sister as soon as possible." As he said that, Yang Cheng took out his cell phone from his pocket. He remembered that he had taken down this cheap father-in-law's phone number when he met Lu Qingshan. When Gao Yu heard Choi Yun say the name Yang Cheng, he was furious. A vague thought flashed through his mind. He seemed to have heard this name somewhere before, but he couldn't recall it. When Choi Yun saw that Yang Cheng was so anxious to know about her sister's situation, a complicated look appeared in her eyes. She sighed faintly. As for how Yang Cheng was going to help her deal with Gao Yu, Choi Yun didn't have the time to think too much about it. Chapter 585. In a sea view villa on the southeast coast of Zhonghai, the gentle afternoon sun shone through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows into a white-toned living room. On a beige sofa, Lu Qingshan, who had his hair combed back, was reading a biography of a famous person with a pair of presbyopic glasses. Lu Qingshan's mother, who was dressed in home clothes, was holding a cup of green tea and sitting beside her husband. After putting down the tray, she grumbled, "Qingshan, you've been reading for half a day. Is it really that interesting?" Lu Qingshan flipped another page and said, "What's wrong with reading in peace? You're looking for peace and quiet, but I'm always peaceful at home." Lu Qingshan's mother said unhappily, "When Mingyu was still here, I could have a woman to talk to. Now that you're back, Mingyu has to go out by herself. You heartless woman, don't you care how bored I am at home?" "Isn't there still Mingho?" Lu Qingshan said. "Can we count on that kid? He's always running around." Lu Qingshan's mother said unhappily. Lu Qingshan frowned. He owed his wife too much over the years, and there was nothing to argue about. Finally, he closed the book and smiled. All right, I won't read anymore. I'll talk to you for a while." Lu Qingshan's mother's face lit up. She was easily satisfied. Just when Lu Qingshan's mother was about to say something, Lu Qingshan's phone on the coffee table rang. Lu Qingshan's mother picked it up and looked at the caller ID. A hint of surprise flashed in her eyes, and she said, "Ah, why is it Yang Cheng calling? Our son-in-law has never taken the initiative to call before." Lu Qingshan raised his eyebrows and said, "One doesn't call for nothing. It's harder to count on him to say a few good words than to reach the heavens. I hope he won't bother me. Look at how you speak. Although Mingyu and Yang Cheng don't have a normal relationship, he's still our son-in-law. We've already acknowledged him. So how can we still treat him as a stranger?" Lu Qingshan's mother said as she passed the phone to her husband. Lu Qingshan sighed and picked up the phone. "What's the matter calling at this time?" In the interrogation room, Yang Cheng pondered for a moment before he said, "Uncle, although it's rare for me to call you, and I should say something good, I'm sorry this time. Do you have a subordinate named Gao Yu? He's fair and tender, looks like he's in his 40s, doesn't have a beard, and wears glasses. He doesn't look like a good guy at all." Gao Yu. Lu Qingshan was puzzled as to why Yang Cheng would suddenly ask such a question. "He's my assistant, and he's been with me for many years. He's in charge of many things in Zhonghai." That's him then. After Yang Cheng confirmed it, he briefly described what Gao Yu had done and said, "He's currently in the interrogation room at the police station. I'm calling you to tell you that he has to go to jail. Uncle, please don't interfere. It's futile even if you try to save him. I don't want to ruin our relationship because of this idiot." Ever since Lu Qingshan unified the underworld in Beijing, no one dared to act like Yang Cheng and say that he would send his men to jail. Lu Qingshan was furious and said, "Are you saying that you want to touch my men and order me to not interfere? Yang Cheng said, "There are some things that I didn't want to point out. I don't believe that you don't know what Gao Yu has done. If you can't even see what's under your nose, then you can't be the boss. So, you can say that you're an accomplice. But I also know that there are always some shady things in the underworld. For Mingyu's sake, I'll even call you uncle. I don't know what you guys do in Beijing, but in Zhonghai, don't pollute the underground environment. I originally thought that even if the Azure Dragon Society joined the underworld in Zhonghai, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it seems like that's not the case. I'm not a good person, but I'd rather kill people than use drugs to force ordinary girls to sell. Xiangwei definitely doesn't want this to happen in her territory. I'll tell Xiangwei that the cooperation between the Red Thorn Society and the Azure Dragon Society is terminated. You guys can go somewhere else and do whatever you want, but don't do this kind of thing under my nose. I don't want Mingyu to be upset if she accidentally finds out." Hearing Yang Cheng's direct words, Lu Qingshan slammed the sofa and said angrily, "You're still talking about Mingyu? Since you know that I'm Mingyu's father, why are you still helping outsiders to deal with me? Who in the underworld doesn't dabble in drugs? Who doesn't dabble in pornography? It's not a big case, and you're going to send the assistant that I've painstakingly trained to jail?" Yang Cheng's voice instantly turned cold, and he said, "It's precisely because you're Mingyu's father that I didn't kill you as well. Let me tell you, Lu Mingyu is my woman, not because her father is called Lu Qingshan, but because her man is called Yang Cheng. If I recognize you, I'll call you uncle. If I don't, you're nothing. I can even abandon my own father. So why would I care about a cheap father-in-law who helps the evildoer? Don't blame me for killing people." With that, Yang Cheng directly hung up the phone, turned it off, and stuffed it into his trouser pocket. Gao Yu, who was standing in front of him, was dumbfounded. He pointed at Yang Cheng and said with a trembling voice, You're the boss's son-in-law, Yang Cheng's son-in-law?" Choi Yun, who was behind Yang Cheng, stared at Yang Cheng with hidden bitterness. She pouted and was full of depression. Of course, she could tell that the young lady of the Azure Dragon Society was also Yang Cheng's woman. Why was this guy sticking women everywhere? Yang Cheng wasn't in the mood to talk to Gao Yu, and said indifferently, "You heard what I said just now, right? Obediently go to jail for me, and even your boss can't save you. If you dare to have any crooked thoughts, I'll personally wring your neck." Gao Yu was a person who had been involved in killing, and he could clearly feel that in Yang Cheng's eyes there was a bottomless pressure that made people suffocate. This was even more powerless than ordinary killing intent. In addition, from Yang Cheng's words to Lu Qingshan, he could clearly feel that Yang Cheng wasn't afraid of Lu Qingshan at all. In fact, he didn't even make a move against Lu Qingshan because of his relationship with Lu Mingyu. In this way, it seemed impossible to rely on Lu Qingshan. But how could he be willing to accept the punishment, be imprisoned, and confiscate the family property? So he smiled and said, Yang Cheng, this is the first time I've done such a foolish thing. I was also blinded by the words of my subordinates, and I didn't understand for a moment. People will always make mistakes. Can you be merciful for once? Don't talk nonsense with me. You're so wishy-washy and not like a man." Yang Cheng frowned and turned to Choi Yun. "Give him a few signed confessions and write down everything that needs to be written. Do what needs to be done, and when you're done, come out and tell me about your sister." After saying that, Yang Cheng left the interrogation room. Gao Yu wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Gritting his teeth, he took out his phone, and regardless of the situation, he dialed Lu Qingshan's number. Even if looking for Lu Qingshan didn't seem to be of much use, he still had to give it a try. The moment the call connected, Gao Yu immediately shouted, "Boss, you have to save me. If I go to jail, who's going to share your worries?" At this moment, Lu Qingshan, who was sitting on the sofa in the villa with an ashen face, said in a deep voice, "You useless thing. Go to jail." After shouting, Lu Qingshan hung up the phone. When Lu Qingshan's mother saw that her husband was so angry, and it was caused by Yang Cheng, she immediately panicked and consoled. "Qingshan, don't be like this. Yang Cheng is quite kind-hearted. After all, he's one of us. Don't take it to heart." "Kind-hearted, it's good. He really is one of us. Lu Qingshan gritted his teeth, but he knew very well that he couldn't do anything to Yang Cheng. Actually, he already knew that Yang Cheng's ability wasn't something he could climb up to, but he originally thought that with his daughter, Lu Mingyu, around, Yang Cheng would always give him face, treat him as an elder, and help him solve any problems he encountered. However, he didn't expect that when it came to something that involved principles, Yang Cheng would be so indifferent, and if he were unreasonable, he would be more unreasonable than anyone else. Thinking of this, Lu Qingshan was so angry that he laughed. In the end, he sat on the sofa and laughed wildly, causing Lu Qingshan's mother to be confused. She didn't know whether her husband was happy or angry.